Attorney Felix William Fuentebella, commonly known as Yusek Pimpi, is the Undersecretary for Planning, Power and Renewable Energy and Investment Promotion of the Department of Energy. May we call on screen Undersecretary Wimpy Fuentebella.
Hello, I am Undersecretary Wimpy Fuentebella from the Department of Energy. I will present the energy sector's updates based on the latest available data and the Philippine Energy Plan. My presentation will respond to the following questions. Where are we right now, which will discuss the country's current energy profile? Where do you want to be in the future? An outlook scenario, more specifically 20 years from now. And how do we get there? This includes our current initiatives in terms of energy sectors, plans, programs, strategies, and policy interventions that will help us achieve our intended goals. Let me start with where we are right now. In terms of the current Philippine energy landscape, the screen shows the reference energy system for our reference year 2020 with values of million tons of oil equivalent in the form of a Sankey diagram. This reference system represents the Philippine energy system that describes the flow of energy from energy supply from the left side to its secondary form through the transformation in the middle, delivered to the different demand sectors on the right side. Starting with the primary energy supply, that in this case accounted for around 56 million tons of oil equivalent of energy level. It involves local production of fossil fuels like oil and gas and coal. Likewise, renewable energy such as geothermal, hydro, solar, wind, and biomass that includes the biofuels. These indigenous sources accounted for 53% of the energy supply. We also import oil, coal, and biofuel, and in the future, we may import natural gas in the form of LNG to be able to augment the country's energy supply requirements. On the other hand, we export oil and oil products and coal for business as usual at 10% of our supply during the period. At the end, we are a net energy importing country as we import more energy than we export. On the next level or stage, some of the energy sources require to be transformed into the right form of energy, which is the secondary energy. We have crude oil here as input to oil refineries to produce various petroleum products. We also have feedstock biofuels production. In the power generation, we need to utilize our fossil fuels and renewable energy sources of about 55% of our energy supply to produce more useful energy in the form of electricity. However, having this form of energy does not mean that energy is available at the right time and at the right place. Meanwhile, the transformation sector involves storage, transmission, and distribution of energy to deliver the energy services to the end-use sectors. End-use sectors were represented as final energy consumption, which accounted for the level of consumption of around 32 million tons of oil equivalent. These are represented as major economic sectors such as transport, household, industry, services, and agriculture. In addition to this, non-energy is represented here. And as the name implies, it is not used as fuel, but for application like cleaning and maintenance of machines and equipment like grease and lube, and also for road construction repair like bitumen and asphalt. This is represented here to complete the representation of the energy supply and demand balance, as each stage of this energy flow was part of the energy balance table. This is the matrix for energy accounting to generate energy data and statistics. This slide shows the total primary energy supply in the form of energy mix by fuel. The left side matrix shows the 2018 to 2019 total primary energy supply. The 2018 data differs in terms of energy supply pattern, as it shows that oil is the most dominant fuel in the mix at 33.5% share to its total energy supply of 59.7 million tons of oil equivalent. In 2019, although the RE share of supply mix slightly decreased from 2018 level, the renewable energy took the lead as the major source of energy with a share of 32.9% to the total energy supply of 59.9 million tons of oil equivalent. The pie chart on the right shows the 2020 energy supply with a level that reached 56.4 million tons of oil equivalent. In this period, the impact of COVID-19 was taken into account, as its energy level reduced by around 6% from the 2019 level due to the slowdown of the country's economic activities, as the government implemented some quarantine measures during the period. The 2020 account shows an increase in the indigenous energy share to 52.6% from the previous years. Renewable energy, which is dominantly used in the household sector, is consistently at the top with 35.2% share, followed by coal, utilized mostly for power generation, at 30.8%. Oil, which is mostly used in the transport sector, consistently went on a downtrend at 29.2% share, while natural gas, used mainly for power generation, accounted for 5.8% share. In the left side, the total final energy consumption by sector shows that among the major economic sectors, only the households indicated an increase of consumption, a 31% share of the total energy consumption, which is 32.4 million tons of oil equivalent. On the other hand, the restrictions in the movement of the people significantly affected the energy consumption of the transport sector, with a 22.5% reduction during the period. On the right side are the energy consumption by fuel. Oil reduced its utilization by 13.2% from 2019 to 2020, as this is mostly consumed by the transport sector. Electricity and biomass consumption reduced by 4.4% and 3.5% respectively. The biggest reductions in the energy consumption registered from 31 to 40% from coal and natural gas consumption for non-power applications due to the restrictions on industry operations, particularly for oil refinery and cement manufacturing. The total installed capacity in 2020 of 26 gigawatts increased by around 3% from 2019 due to an uptrend on the level of the power capacities of coal and renewable energy that dominated the shares in the capacity mix. On the other hand, the level of power generation decreased by 4% from around 106 terawatt hours in 2019 to 102 terawatt hours in 2020. This is because power generation from coal slightly increased by less than 1%, while the rest of the power plant technologies generation output reduced from 2 to 34% during the same period. Now, where do we want to be in the future? Here are exactly the sets of information extracted from the Philippine Energy Plan covering the period 2020 to 2040. Again, we start with the reference energy scenario. And I hope you see the big difference here under the clean energy scenario. We are having more of the energy from 56 million tons of oil equivalent in 2020 to 145 million tons of oil equivalent in 2040, being diverted or being directed towards power generation as demand for energy is increasing between 2020 to 2040. Nevertheless, the demand for fuels in the transport sector is still there and provided mainly or largely by oil, both for the transport of people and of goods. There is an increasing share of nat gas and renewable energy in the production of electricity. And to emphasize further, we are seeing a greater use of energy efficiency by everyone and by all the sector towards 2040. It is the objective under the Philippine Energy Plan to make energy efficiency as a way of life for every Filipino. The country's total primary energy supply under the reference scenario will reach 156 million tons of oil equivalent by 2040 at a rate of around 5% per year. Under the clean energy scenario, however, in the same period, the total primary energy supply will register at 145 billion tons of oil equivalent. There is an expected reduction in coal and oil under the clean energy scenario as compared to the reference scenario. Some volume of coal and oil will be displaced due to the alternative fuels for transport, highly efficient coal technologies, and intensified utilization of renewable energy sources, particularly geothermal energy, and combined with solar and wind and natural gas for power generation for the next 2 decades. Under the clean energy scenario, an aggregate renewable energy supply will grow by around 5% a year to reach the 46 million tons of oil equivalent by 2040 versus its 2020 level. With greater share of renewable energy, self-sufficiency of energy will also improve to around 60% under the clean energy scenario at the end of the planning period. The slump in the 2020 energy consumption can be observed as shown in the graph of the energy demand outlook by sector in the reference scenario. The country is projected to increase its energy consumption in response to the economic trajectory until 2040. Under the reference scenario, the total final energy consumption increases at an average of 5.8% annually from its 2020 level of 32.4 million tons of oil equivalent to 99 million tons of oil equivalent in 2040. Transport and industry will account for the bulk of energy demand between 2020 and 2040 and registers the fastest growth rates by around 7%, followed by services and the agriculture sectors. On the other hand, the energy demand outlook by fuel will consistently be dominated by petroleum products from 2020 to 2040 that accounts for a share of around 57% to the demand mix by 2040. Electricity will also contribute significantly with the bulk of around 26% share to the demand mix during the period. As mentioned earlier, it is the transformed energy from technologies that provide electricity requirement of all sectors. In the two cases that we have developed in the Philippine Energy Plan, we have the reference scenario where the nat gas is the dominant provider of electricity. However, in the clean energy scenario, the renewable energy displaces coal and natural gas with a share of 50% in the generation mix by 2040. Take note that a small amount of oil will still be required for the different off-grid power generation. This slide shows the breakdown of the additional capacity requirement and the expected contribution from the geothermal, hydro, biomass, solar, and wind to be able to provide 45,588 megawatts additional installed capacity under the reference scenario. While under the clean energy scenario, it increases to 73,868 megawatts. This slide represents the structural changes expected to take place in the power generation sector. The blue line is the total of oil and coal, while the green line is the total of renewable energy and natural gas and other technology share in the total generation of power. We are actually expecting to have a great shift with the power generation sector being dominated by clean fuels and technologies, namely renewable energy, natural gas, and new technologies that may come in the year 2030 under the reference scenario, and even earlier by 2027 for the clean energy scenario. For the energy sector to transition into having a clean and sustainable future, the defined path to undertake leads to the clean energy scenario. The reference scenario will be the front runner to achieve the clean energy scenario. However, it needs to take up a notch and requires expanding the use of renewable energy and other technologies, strengthening the implementation of energy efficiency and conservation, implementing appropriate information and communication technologies in the energy chain, and building up energy resiliency. The clean energy scenario is deemed to pave the way for the Philippine Energy Plan's vision of energy security, sustainable energy, resilient infrastructures, competitive energy sector, smart homes and cities, and empowered consumers. The strategic focus areas depicts how the energy sector will move forward to attain the envisioned clean and sustainable future. This is underscored with the energy supply and demand outlook that is guided with the promotion of energy security through clean energy fuels and technologies and stronger investments. Further, to move towards the transitioning to a low carbon future is also substantiated with environmental management, pursuit of energy resilience and security, continued energy engagements in the international front, and the more collaborative roles of the attached agencies under the energy sector. The Philippine Energy Plan targets to bring about 69,420 megawatts of generation capacity. Of that total, 45,588 megawatts is expected to come from renewable energy. In providing for this electrical power requirement, we will also continuously provide for the development and utilization of indigenous sources in the form of coal, oil, and natural gas. We are also looking at being able to maintain 100% household electrification, and beyond 2022, this is ably represented in the form of energy access, meaning anyone who wants to avail of energy services will be able to have it when they need it. The Philippine Energy Plan also provides for the greater participation of all the sectors, including the local government units, where the different energy sources and facilities will need to be fully in place. Part of the energy security is also the need for us to be able to have our oil storage capacity and the establishment of a strategic petroleum reserve. Again, we highlight that between now and 2040, there is going to be a 24/7 access of all forms of energy products and services. At the same time, the vision is for all Filipinos to have energy efficiency and conservation as a way of life. The Philippine Energy Plan is targeting to put in place 7 trillion pesos of investments for each the reference scenario and clean energy scenarios to be able to provide for the necessary infrastructure per year. And then the energy sector will bring investments to put up the additional infrastructure as to expand the delivery of energy services to the people. The energy sector is expected to generate green jobs for the Filipinos. Now we ask, how do we transition and what is expected from the power generation, and how the whole energy supply will be able to steer its way towards our goal. The Philippine Energy Plan provides for the many policies, programs, and laws that have been passed to be able to help us achieve the objectives and targets. Many of these are in place, and we hope that everyone can fully appreciate how they can best be utilized. On behalf of the Department of Energy, we'd like to thank everyone for listening in. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Yusek Wimpy, for explaining very clearly the intricacies in the energy sector and mapping out how we will attain the clean energy scenario. Now, considering that the energy sector is dynamic, policies and regulations have to be a tool to clearly guide our energy stakeholders. To provide us the updates on the energy regulatory framework, may I call on screen Director Sharon Montanier from Energy Regulatory Commission.
Honorable Secretary Alfonso G. Cusi, Undersecretary Felix William Fuentabella, distinguished speakers and guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, in behalf of our chairperson, Agnes V.S.T. Devanadera, let me thank the DOE for inviting us to this Energy Investment Forum to share our regulations that supports the energy transition towards renewable energy. The ERC through the years has constantly worked with the DOE, the National Renewable Energy Board, and other stakeholders in the renewable energy industry in the promotion of clean energy here in the Philippines. And we have always been supportive of policy developments promoting the use of renewable energy sources to achieve sustainability and provide equitable access to energy for all Filipinos. So first of all, let me introduce the Energy Regulatory Commission, which was created under Republic Act number 9136, or the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, as an independent quasi-judicial regulatory body to promote competition, monitor the market, encourage market development, ensure customer choice, and penalize abuse of market power. The Commission is headed by Chairperson and CEO Agnes V.S.T. Devanadera, and the four commissioners, Commissioner Alexis M. Lumbatan, Commissioner Catherine P. Maceda, Commissioner Florecinda G. Baldodigal, and Commissioner Marco Romeo L. Fuentes. Okay, now just to highlight that the RE Act has provided for several non-fiscal incentives. First is the net metering program, which is a consumer-based incentive in which a distribution end user has a two-way connection to the grid. We have the Green Energy Option Program, which is a program which provides end users the option to choose RE resources as their source of energy. We likewise have the Renewable Portfolio Standards, which sets a minimum percentage of generation from RE sources to be sourced by the mandated participants, and which is currently set by the DOE at 1% of electricity sold. And lastly, the RE Act provides for the feed-in tariff, which is a guaranteed payment in peso per kilowatt hour for electricity generated from emerging RE technologies and delivered to the transmission and or the distribution network. Those are for the on-grid. Now for the off-grid, the RE Act provides for the renewable portfolio standards similar to that in the on-grid, and also the cash incentives where the RE developer shall be entitled from the time it commences its commercial operation in the missionary area as new power provider under a PSA approved by the ERC. Okay, and for the purpose of this forum, let me highlight three issuances of the ERC that supports the energy transition towards renewable energy. And these are the feed-in tariff, the net metering, and the green energy option. Okay, first on the feed-in tariff, this was promulgated by the Commission through Resolution number 16, Series of 2010 in July 2010. What is feed-in tariff? Feed-in tariff is a guaranteed payment in Philippine peso per kilowatt hour for electricity generated from emerging renewable energy technologies and actually delivered to the transmission and or distribution network. It was mandated pursuant to Section 7 of the Republic Act 9513, also known as the Renewable Energy Act. Specifically, the Section 7 states that the FIT system is set up to accelerate the development of emerging RE resources such as wind, solar, run-of-river hydro, and biomass to be used in compliance with the renewable portfolio standards. Okay, so this is the overall FIT framework. Whenever there is renewable energy injected into the system, NGCP or the utilities, in the case of embedded plants, allocate the energy among all their customers or electricity end users. In turn, all electricity end users are obligated to pay a uniform peso per kilowatt-hour charge that we refer to as the feed-in tariff allowance or the FIT-all, which you see in your bills. Okay, the FIT-all is collected by the utilities or by the NGCP in the case of end users that are directly connected to the transmission system and remitted to Transco. Transco acts as the administrator of the FIT-all proceeds and takes care of the settlement with the renewable energy developers based on the quantity they delivered into the system and the applicable feed-in tariff rate. Now, let me discuss to you the salient features of the FIT rules. The FITs to be approved by the ERC shall be technology specific and may further be differentiated by the size of the plant. It shall have a duration of 20 years, meaning that the RE developers shall enjoy the prevailing feed-in tariff rate applicable to them from the time they start commercially operating and for 20 years thereafter. It is also subject to annual adjustment to account for local inflation and foreign currency fluctuations. A simple benchmarking indexation formula is provided in the rules to apply to all technologies. And the FITs to be set are also subjected to degression rate to be determined by the ERC to encourage developers to invest at the initial stage and hasten the deployment of RE. Subjecting the FITs to degression also avoids substantial windfall from being enjoyed by developers, especially in the technologies where significant cost reductions are expected in the future as these technologies mature. And lastly, the feed-in tariffs are subject to review and readjustment by the ERC in the following cases: when the installation targets are already achieved within the targeted period, when the installation targets are not achieved within the targeted period, when there are significant changes to the cost or when more accurate cost data become available, and other analogous circumstances that justify the review and readjustment. However, the readjusted tariffs that may be set by the ERC following this review shall apply only to new RE developers. Now, this is the status of the FIT implementation as of November 1, 2021. Okay, for solar, there are 2 rounds of FIT. The first round is at 9.68. The second round is at 8.69 for 50 megawatts and 450 megawatts installation target. And for subscribed capacity or those that came in each round, it's 67.60 megawatts for the round 1, and that covers 6 plants. And for round 2, it's 417.05 megawatts for 17 plants. Similarly, for wind, there were 2 rounds. The first round was at 8.53 pesos per kilowatt hour for 200 megawatt installation target. 249.9 megawatts of capacity came in, and that's equivalent to 3 plants. Okay, for the round 2, the rate was set at 7 pesos and 40 centavos per kilowatt hour. Also for another 200 megawatt installation target, and 144 megawatts or 3 plants came in that round. For the biomass, the round 1 FIT rate was set at 6.63 pesos per kilowatt hour for 250 megawatt installation target. Only 120.661 megawatts came in, and that's about 13 plants. The rate was digressed at 6.5969 on the 3rd year of its implementation to complete the 250 megawatts, and only 14.564 megawatts of capacity was registered under FIT. Okay, now the second round of FIT was set at 6.19 for biomass, still to complete the 250 megawatt installation target, and 53.100 megawatts of capacity came in, and for about 9 plants. For run-of-river hydro, the FIT 1 was, the round 1 was set at 5.90 pesos per kilowatt hour for 250 megawatts, and only 35.88 megawatts came in. It was digressed on the 3rd year of the implementation of the FIT at 5.8705 to complete the 250 megawatts installation target, and only a mere 8.5 megawatts came in, and that's only for 1 plant. Now the round 2 of FIT is at 5.8705 for 250 megawatts, and only 103.20 megawatts came in. So in the case of ROR Hydro, it is not yet fully subscribed, and in fact it was the 250 megawatts was further extended by the DOE until its full subscription, and the ERC is currently in the process of setting the rate for that extension period. So this is just a graphical illustration of the FIT implementation by grid in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Overall, the capacities are mostly in Luzon. More than 60% are in Luzon, more than 20% are in Visayas, and the remaining is in Mindanao. Okay, now for each grid, for Luzon, it's mostly wind, coming from wind. For Visayas, it's mostly coming from solar, and for Mindanao, it's mostly coming from ROR Hydro. Okay, so next, let me discuss to you the net metering rules. Under Resolution number 6, series of 2019, which is a resolution adopting the amendments to the rules enabling the net metering program for renewable energy, which was promulgated by the Commission on August 16, 2019. So this is already an amendment. Okay, the first net metering rules was promulgated way back in 2013. Now, what is net metering? It refers to a system appropriate for distributed generation in which a distribution grid user has a two-way consumption and is credited for any overall contribution. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay, so as you can see, the net metering totally changed the landscape of the electric power industry from traditional one-way flow of electricity to a two-way flow of electricity. It is consumer-based incentive scheme that empowered consumers to become prosumers, or consumers with the ability to produce their own electricity for their own use and for possible export to the distribution system. Under this program, the DUs may enter into net metering agreements with qualified end users who will be installing RE system. And these qualified end users are those entities that generate power from eligible on-site RE facility. The net metering program, as I mentioned earlier, has been in place as early as 2013 when the ERC promulgated Resolution number 9. And with its implementation, several issues were brought up. Okay, and so that what I'm presenting right now is the amended net metering rules. So this is basically the setup. So from the one-way flow of electricity from the distribution utility with an arrow going to the households or the end users. Okay, that's the one-way flow of electricity, and that's the flow that we know and we're very familiar with. Okay, but with the net metering, you have the ability to set up your own RE facility in your premises, okay, and enjoy, for example, in this illustration, the sun. Okay, take advantage of the sun in producing your own electricity for your own use, and when there is excess, there is an arrow going to the distribution utility, which illustrates that you can export excess electricity to the distribution system. Okay, so the flow of electricity going to your household or to your premises and going outside, exported to the DU system, is registered in a one bidirectional meter. And then there is already also a third meter, which a second meter, which we call a rec meter, to register the total generation of the facility for RPS compliance. This is the status of net metering implementation. So in terms of capacity, 74% of the capacity is in Luzon, 21% is in Visayas, and 4% in Mindanao. In terms of the number of net metering customers or the qualified end users, 82% is in Luzon, 15% is in Visayas, and 3% is in Mindanao. So overall, there's a total of 41,653.15 kilowatt peak of capacity under net metering, and that is for 5,102 qualified end users. Okay, so this is also the net metering implementation of the different distribution utilities. In Luzon, there's a total of 28 TUs implementing net metering. In Visayas, there's a total of 21, and in Mindanao, a total of 11 distribution utilities. We have continuously been going around educating these DUs and encouraging them to process the net metering application of those end users signifying interest to be under the net metering. Okay. Okay, so these are the salient features of the amended net metering rules. So we have addressed a lot of issues, as I mentioned earlier, when this was implemented way back in 2013. And during its implementation, there were issues raised and barriers identified. And so in this amended net metering rules, first, we clarified the conditions, qualifications, and eligibility to avoid confusion. Second, we improved the interconnection setup to take advantage of new technologies and to implement the RPS. So when it comes to the metering, in 2013 net metering rules, we provided for a 2-meter setup, one to record the import and another one to record the export. But taking advantage of the bidirectional meter, we have directed all the distribution utilities to set up a bidirectional meter instead of the 2-meter setup, and also to set up the rec meter to implement the RPS. Okay, third, we simplified permitting procedures, and we set the timeline, a timeline for the processing by the DUs of the net metering application for 20 days only. Okay. Fourth, we removed the DIS fee, the distribution impact study fee, and the net metering charge. Fifth, we maintained the current pricing methodology because the ERC believes that it is fair for all, for both the net metering and the non-net metering customers. Sixth, we addressed the subsidy impact on the non-net metering customers. Okay. And seventh, we rationalize the entitlement to the lifeline subsidy rate so that only the marginalized may be able to avail of such a subsidy. And then we implemented a strict reporting process. And lastly, we opened opportunity for socialized and economic housing developments to avail of the net metering program. Okay, so that's on the net metering. Okay, next, let me discuss with you the rules for the Green Energy Option Program under Resolution number 8, series of 2021. This was promulgated on April 22, 2021. Okay, the ERC Resolution number 8 provides for the rules enabling the Green Energy Option Program. It also provides for the different templates for the connection agreement, the transmission service agreement, and the distribution wheeling service agreement for both the renewable energy suppliers and the JOP end users. So this became effective on September 3, 2021. Now, what is JOP? JOP is akin to ARCOA, or very similar to ARCOA. It is both a voluntary policy mechanism. However, for JOP, it is a mechanism for those with 100 kilowatt and above demand. Okay, the ARCOA is, the current threshold of ARCOA is 500 kilowatt. The JOP provides end users the option to contribute in the development and utilization of RE resources in a least cost and sustainable manner. And the RE suppliers to the JOP customers must have a valid RE suppliers license from the ERC. Now, these are the guiding principles for the JOP. An end user who intends to participate in the JOP shall inform its DU or Transco or its successors in interest or concessionaire. So the end user must signify interest. And then all specifications and detailed plans for the installation of the communication, control, and protective devices shall be of the network service provider standards. And lastly, the RE system that will be put up to serve the JOP customers shall conform to the Philippine Electrical Code, the Philippine Distribution Code, the Philippine Grid Code, Distribution Service Open Access Rules, the Certificate of Compliance Rules, the Open Access Transmission Service Rules, and other rules and regulations of the ERC. Okay, now who are qualified to and eligible to become JOP end users? Okay, if you are an existing end user and your monthly average peak demand is 100 kilowatt and above for the past 12 months, then you are eligible to participate in the JOP. Now, if you are applying for a new connection and your estimated average monthly peak demand for the next 12 months is 300 kilowatt and above, you are likewise eligible to become a JOP end user. Now, if you are just a newly connected customer and your estimated average monthly peak demand for the next 12 months is from 100 kilowatt to 300 kilowatt, and you have registered historical monthly peak demand of at least 100 kilowatt for the 3 consecutive months, then you are also qualified to participate in the JOP program. Okay. Now, with JOP, the end user has the power of choice. Okay, first to choose RE at competitive or least cost supply. Second, to contribute to the growth of the RE industry of the country. Third, to contribute to cleaner and sustainable environment. And fourth, to support national and global decarbonization goals. Okay, so that's on the JOP. Now, what's upcoming in the future? These are the upcoming issuances and activities of the ERC that will support the energy transition towards renewable energy. Okay, we are currently finalizing the cost recovery framework for DU's compliance to RPS. We are likewise finalizing the distributed energy resources rules we are starting the study on the net metering for off-grid areas. Likewise, on the regulatory framework on energy storage system and the regulatory framework on electric vehicles and charging stations. And of course, we are preparing to support the DOE's Green Energy Auction Program. So these are all exciting developments in the energy industry, particularly in the renewable energy, something to look forward to. Okay. So I think that's my last slide, and I hope I have enlightened you on the issuances that I highlighted today. And should you need a detailed discussion on these rules, please don't hesitate to inform us. We would like to be of assistance to you. Okay, so thank you and good day.
Thank you, Director Montanier, for sharing us the valuable updates on the energy regulatory framework. I hope this already answered some questions from our viewers, especially the energy users. Now, another major concern in investing into an energy business are the incentives that could be available. On March 26, 2021, Republic Act number 11534, otherwise known as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprise, or CREATE, was signed into law. To explain further on the impact of the CREATE law on energy projects, may I now introduce to you our next presenter. Our presenter supervises industry developments and sectoral work and industry promotion of resource-based industries, such as agriculture, agro-processing, fishery, agriculture support services and infrastructure, forestry, cement, mining, and energy. He's a licensed chemical engineer, the chief investment specialist, and concurrently designated officer in charge at the Office of the Director, Resource-Based Industry Service, Board of Investments, Department of Trade and Industry. Let us all welcome Director Raquel Echave.
Good morning, everyone. First, let me thank the Department of Energy for inviting the Board of Investments in this investment forum for the energy or power sector and other energy-related activities. My presentation is basically about how energy and energy-related projects can benefit from the incentives provided under CREATE Act, or the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises. I will be discussing the relevant laws or legal basis for fiscal incentives for energy projects, the preferred energy and energy-related projects under the existing 2020 Investment Priorities Plan, as the Transitional Strategic Investment Priority Plan, or SIPP, under CREATE. It may be helpful also to know the industry tiers under the SIPP, especially for our policymakers at the DOE to maximize the benefits of the incentives under CREATE. I will discuss also the incentives under CREATE as well as the registration process in the BOI and the documentary requirements for energy projects that will draw incentives from CREATE and other related laws. These are the relevant laws on the provision of fiscal incentives relative to energy and energy-related projects. We have as the basis for BOI on granting and administration of incentives the Omnibus Investments Code of 1987, otherwise known as the EO 226, which provided for the publication of the Investment Priorities Plan, or the IPP. In 2021, the incentives provision under EO 226 was repealed by RA 11534, otherwise known as the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, or CREATE, which will replace the IPP to the Strategic Investment Priority Plan. In 2019, Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act was enacted as RA 11285. This provides for the mandatory inclusion of energy efficiency, or EE, projects in the BOI's IPP and the provision of incentives based on the guidelines set by the Department of Energy and the Board of Investments. In earlier years, in 2008, the government prioritized the development and promotion of renewable energy activities under RA 9513 and provided for the mandatory listing of RE activities in the BOI's IPP and the provision of a set of tax-based incentives to be administered by the BOI and other concerned government agencies. Likewise, in 1998, RA 8479 or the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act has been passed into law, which provided a set of incentives for qualified downstream oil projects after registration with the BOI. Going back to EO 226, the BOI is mandated to publish annually the IPP, which is a list of activities where investments are to be encouraged and may be entitled to the incentives provided under the said law. Starting in 2014, the IPP became a 3-year rolling plan subject to review annually. So we had the 2014 to 2016 IPP and the 2017 to 29 IPP. The 2020 IPP was approved by the President on November 18, 2020 under Memorandum Order Number 50 and took effect on December 6 of the same year. The major incentives under the 2020 IPP prior to the enactment of the CREATE Act were the 4 to 6 years income tax holiday and the duty-free importation of capital, equipment, and parts. RA 11534 or CREATE took effect on April 11, 2021. It repealed the incentives provision and other policies relating to the approval and registration of projects under EO 226. The existing 2020 IPP became the Transitional Strategic Investment Priority Plan or SIPP, and the projects under it are evaluated based on Tier 1 of CREATE. Based on Rule 4 of the CREATE Implementing Rules and Regulations, the SIPP shall include sectors or industries that are mandated by special laws to be listed in the IPP and or granted with incentives. Mandatory inclusion will cover projects on renewable energy, downstream oil industry, and energy efficiency. Rule 5 provides the authority of the different investment promotion agencies to approve or disapprove the grant of tax incentives to registered projects with investment capital of 1 billion pesos and below, and the registration of projects and grant of incentives covered by the special laws that were not repealed by CREATE shall continue to be administered by the IPAs. RA 11285 or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act, which was signed into law in 2019, provides that EE projects be included in the BOI's IPP and be entitled to the fiscal incentives provided under EO 226. Based on the 2020 IPP guidelines, as well as the DOE Department Circular 2021-05-011, proposed EE projects must be endorsed by the DOE, stating that the project will meet the energy savings threshold of at least 15% at project boundary. Self-financed projects and projects undertaken by energy service companies or ESCOs for another entity or facility may qualify for registration. Since the incentives provision of EO 226 has been repealed by CREATE, EE projects will draw incentives under CREATE. After 10 years from the effectivity of RA 11285, the inclusion of EE projects in the IPP or SIPP shall be reviewed and may be extended by the BOI. The Renewable Energy Act's incentives provision has not been repealed by CREATE, and hence it retains its own incentives regime. Qualified projects include power generation using RE sources, as well as manufacture and fabrication of RE equipment and components. By the way, it also covers non-power generating projects such as biomass. The projects must be endorsed, accredited, or registered by the Department of Energy. Among the incentives under this law are the 7 years income tax holiday and duty-free importation of RE machinery, equipment, and materials which are being administered by the BOI. After the ITH, the project will enjoy a 10% corporate tax rate, and this is being administered by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Other fiscal incentives being administered by other concerned government agencies are the net operating loss carryover, or NOLCO, accelerated depreciation, VAT zero rate on sale of fuel or power generated, cash incentive for missionary electrification, tax exemption on carbon credits, and tax credit on domestic capital equipment and services. Similarly, the Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998 provides incentives to refining, storage, distribution, and marketing of petroleum products. Projects to be applied for incentives with the BOI must be endorsed by the DOE, certifying that the applicant is a new industry participant with new investments. Projects registered under this law enjoy the 5 years income tax holiday, additional deduction for labor expenses, minimum tax and duty of 3%, and VAT on imported capital equipment, unrestricted use of consigned equipment, exemption from taxes and duties on imported spare parts, tax credit on domestic capital equipment, exemption on contractors' tax, and exemption from the real property tax on production equipment and machineries. These are the projects or activities related to energy which are found in the 2020 IPP. These are classified as preferred activities and special laws or mandatory listing. We have under the preferred list the following: charging or refueling stations for alternative energy vehicles except LPG run vehicles, LNG storage and regasification facility, power generation using conventional fuels, waste heat recovery, and battery energy storage systems. For special laws, we have qualified projects under the 3 laws, such as RA 8479, or the Downstream Oil Industry Act, RA 9513, or the Renewable Energy Act, and RA 11285, or the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. I mentioned earlier in my presentation that it's good to know the industry tiers under SIPP. We have 3 tiers under the CREATE. First is Tier 1. This is the minimum level of qualification for registration of projects listed in the 2020 IPP, except for projects that do not draw incentives under CREATE, such as the RE Law and the Downstream Oil Industry Act. Any of the indicators or bullet points under this tier may be satisfied. The project may have a high potential for job creation, or it may address market failures that resulted to underprovision of the basic goods and services, or the project will create value through innovation, upgrading, and moving up the value chain, or an essential support to sectors critical to industrial development or emerging owing to potential comparative advantage. Highlighted here is bullet number 4, and energy-related projects may qualify under. Tier 2 are the activities that produce supplies, parts, and components, and intermediate services that are not locally produced but are critical to industrial development and import substituting activities. On the other hand, Tier 3 involves R&D or research and development with significant value added, higher productivity, breakthroughs in science and health, and high-paying jobs, generation of new knowledge and IP registered or licensed in the Philippines, commercialization of patents, industrial designs, copyrights, and utility models, highly technical manufacturing, and projects that are critical to structural transformation of the economy. These are the incentives under CREATE. Income tax holiday or ITHs of 4 to 7 years. After ITHs, export-oriented projects can enjoy 5% special corporate income tax or SCIT based on the gross income earned or GIE for a period of 10 years in lieu of all the national and local taxes, or enhanced deduction also for a period of 10 years. Domestic-oriented projects will enjoy 5 years of enhanced deductions after ITHs. Both types of projects can enjoy duty exemption on imported capital equipment, raw materials, spare parts, or accessories. VAT exemption on importation and VAT zero rating on local purchases are available only to export-oriented projects. On the right side of the slide is a list of enhanced deductions available for both export and domestic-oriented projects. These are depreciation allowance of assets, or additional 10% for buildings and additional 20% for machinery and equipment, 50% additional deduction on labor expense, 100% additional deduction on R&D, 100% additional deduction on training expense, 50% additional deduction on domestic input expense, 50% additional deduction on power expense, deduction for reinvestment allowance to manufacturing industry at a maximum rate of 50%, and enhanced net operating loss carryover. During the evaluation of the project, the BOI will ask the applicant enterprise the enhanced deductions that are applicable to the applied project. This is a tabular presentation of the tax-based incentives that registered export and domestic activities will enjoy under CREATE based on the location. Export enterprises need to commit at least 70% of its total production or output to be able to enjoy the full incentives. Since energy and energy-related projects are basically domestic-oriented, I will just discuss the incentives under domestic market activities, these three columns in the slide or in the table. For domestic-oriented projects located in NCR and qualified under Tier 1, the total years of tax-based incentives is 9, or 4 years of ITH and 5 years of enhanced deductions. For those locating in metropolitan areas or those areas referring to Metro Cebu and Metro Davao, which are grouped as such by NEDA, and areas outside and off and contiguous or adjacent to NCR under Tier 1, total years of tax-based incentives is 10, or 5 years of ITH and 5 years of enhanced deductions. All other areas will have a total of 11 years for tax-based incentives under Tier 1, or 6 years of ITH and 5 years of enhanced deductions. So the farther you go up the tiers and the farther you go from the NCR, the longer is the period of availment of the incentives. CREATE provides also the power of the President to grant incentives in the interest of national economic development and upon the recommendation of the Fiscal Incentives Review Board. The President may modify the mix, period, or manner of availment of incentives provided under CREATE or craft the appropriate financial support package for a highly desirable project or a specific industrial activity. The President may grant incentives to highly desirable projects having a minimum investment capital of 50 billion pesos or that which will generate at least 10,000 direct local employment. However, the total period of availment of incentives shall not exceed 40 years and the grant of ITH shall not exceed 8 years. For the remaining incentive period, a special corporate income tax of 5% may be granted. Financial support includes utilization of government resources such as land use, water appropriation, power provision, and budgetary support provision under the Annual General Appropriations Act. For projects currently registered with an IPA and still enjoying or yet to enjoy the ITH, they will continue to avail such incentives based on their existing terms and conditions with the concerned investment promotion agency. Those currently availing of the 5% tax on gross income earned shall be allowed to continue availing the said tax rate for 10 years. Energy and energy-related projects that are proposed for registration with the Board of Investments will undergo this registration process. Project proponents need to first secure a DOE endorsement or a certificate of registration. Endorsements are applicable for preferred energy projects, for energy efficiency projects, and the downstream oil industry projects. For RE projects, the DOE issues a certificate of registration. Once the endorsement or the certificate of registration is released by the DOE, the proponent may file its application with the Board of Investments. The BOI will determine the qualification of the applied project under the existing IPP and will also checklist the documents required pertinent to the application. The evaluation includes technical, ex-ante cost-benefit analysis, and socioeconomic benefits of that particular project. The BOI board will act on the application within 20 working days after all the requirements have been completed by the proponent. For projects costing 1 billion pesos and below, including RE and downstream oil projects, the BOI board will issue the notice of board action to the applicant. The approved project should be registered with the Board of Investments within 90 calendar days from receipt of the notice. Projects costing above 1 billion pesos will be endorsed by the BOI board to the FIRB for action on the grant of incentives. These are the documentary requirements that the BOI will ask from project proponents. These are the regular requirements for all projects being applied for BOI registration, except that for energy and energy-related projects, there must be a DOE endorsement or a certificate of registration, whichever is applicable. Notice in the second bullet that a 20-year projection is required to enable the BOI to compute for the ex-ante cost-benefit analysis as required by the FIRB, but this will only be required for projects drawing incentives under CREATE. So RE projects and downstream oil industry projects will not be required with a 20-year projection. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present to you the impact of CREATE on energy and energy-related projects. We are the Resource-Based Industry Service, under which is the Energy Division, Agri-Based Industries Division, and the Project Evaluation and Registration Division. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Echage, for a very detailed and knowledgeable discussion. We are all cognizant that financing is one of the determinants in the implementation of an energy project. So our next two presenters will be coming from the government and commercial banking sector. To start off, our next presenter earned his Bachelor of Science on Civil Engineering from University of Assumption in San Fernando, Pampanga. He completed his master's degree in business administration and master's degree in public administration in the University of the Philippines. The Assistant Vice President Program Management Department from the Land Bank of the Philippines. May I invite on screen Mr. Generoso David.
Good morning to Honorable Secretary Cusi and to all dignitaries and stakeholders in this very important event. Thank you for having Land Bank to be part of this Energy Investment Forum 2021. And Land Bank has always been very supportive in terms of providing credit funding to power generation projects in order to empower even the remotest islands of the country. The bank has strong partnerships to electric cooperatives and to power generators and distributors to bring clean, renewable, and sustainable power to the country. And among the many programs of the bank, we have this REAL Energy Financing Program, which the REAL is an acronym for Renewable and Efficient Alternative Energy Financing Program. The bank initially allocated 20 billion from its internal fund to support projects topping wind, hydro, geothermal, biofuel, solar, and even tidal or ocean resources. Next slide, please. So Land Bank objectives in rolling out its Real Energy Lending Program are to invigorate drive towards financing clean sources of energy as the bank's support to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly on ensuring accessible clean energy and the need to take urgent action in addressing climate change and its impact, and to further promote and encourage development of renewable energy resources and adoption of energy-efficient technologies and solutions for a reliable, clean, and sustainable power. And lastly, to provide financing to large power and consumers to adopt energy-efficient solutions that will translate to lower electricity consumptions and hence generate savings on power cost. Next slide, please. On these slides are the types of energy resources or sources for and power generation projects that the bank can finance. The country has more than 7,000 islands and has a huge tidal or ocean energy resources that developers can start looking into, because the technology for tidal or ocean energy is no different from the wind energy in terms of capturing kinetic energy via the use of the propeller or blades submerged under ocean and seas to capture the ocean current. Or it can be likened to hydropower project where impounded water, when released towards the power turbines, generates electricity, because tapping tidal energy involves the tapping of the rise and fall of the ocean tides to capture the kinetic energy of flowing seawater to the impounding area during high tides and the backflow of seawater during low tides. So what I want to impress here is that we can tap this tidal or ocean energy because we are an island country and the technology is just very simple. It's just like creating an impounding dam for this tidal capturing of tidal tides, or creating or installing wind energy by capturing the current under the seas and oceans. In one of the studies I read, the country has more than 170 gigawatts potential capacity for ocean or tidal energy. Please check this accuracy with DOE for the potential capacity of the country's tidal energy in the country. But I think it is within that range, 170 gigawatts. Next slide, please. So under our real energy lending program, these are the eligible borrowers. You can be a sole proprietorship, a partnership wanting to develop a power generation project, a corporation, cooperatives, LGU, government-owned and controlled corporation, or government agencies. In fact, we have financed a lot of electric cooperatives in terms of their power generation projects. Next slide, please. So these are the eligible projects under our program in compliance with the provisions of RA 9513, or the Renewable Act of 2008. These are what we term as the big show. B stands for biomass, G, geothermal, solar power, hydropower, ocean or tidal energy, and wind. And we even finance biofuel projects. And we can also, the bank can also finance other RE projects, such as, but not limited to the following: hybrid renewable energy systems, like using both electric compressed natural gas or mixing it with solar energy power. Even we finance also the land bank. Land bank also finances fabrication and manufacturing of renewable energy technologies, equipment, and components. So if you are a manufacturer, you can come into the bank and apply for a loan to do your manufacturing projects or products. Next slide, please. So under the program, the bank can also finance project preparation, like the feasibility study, detailed engineering design, assessment studies to support, even securing permit, licenses, and approvals, working capital, capital expenditures. So as you can see, it encapsulates everything under the under power generation sector. The bank can come into financial funding requirement. Next slide, please. So these are so the credit facilities that we can provide to our borrowers can be a short-term loan line, meaning the loan can be up to 1 year repayment period. Mostly this short-term loan line is used for working capital requirements of the power sector, or it can be a term loan, a maximum of 15 years, in order to fund capital expenditures like construction of hydropower projects, construction of wind power projects, or construction of ocean or tidal projects. It can also, the land bank can also provide the standby letter of credit for the importation needs of the borrowing entity. And under the program, the bank can finance up to 90% of the project costs, especially for the local government units, for the electric cooperatives, for the government-owned and controlled corporations, and for the government agencies. However, for private borrowers, the bank can finance up to 80% of the total project cost. So the 20% remaining cost that will be infused by the proponent or the borrower could be in terms of the project study, feasibility study, assessment design, etc., or even acquisition of areas where the projects will be constructed, like when you are constructing a solar power plant or solar power farm. So the land can be part of the equity infusion of the private borrower. Next slide, please. So the interest rate the land bank can provide would be based on BVAL, the Bloomberg Valuation Reference Rate, plus a spread but not lower than 5% per annum. This is very low at 5% per annum. And if it is funded using ODA or special fund coming from a foreign funder like World Bank, ADB, JBIC, the applicable project cost sharing will be followed or will mimic the terms and conditions of the foreign funders. For past due loans, the bank charges a penalty of 3% per annum for borrowing cooperatives. For other borrowers, private borrowers, and even government agency, the bank will charge a 20% per annum penalty. Take note, this is penalty in case that the loan turned past due or turned sour. And the bank charges other fees, which are based on the land bank standard fees and charges. And this includes appraisal fee, front-end fee, and what do you call a guarantee fee if it is funded by a foreign fund. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, the term of the loan can be short-term loan line available by a 360-day promissory note, or it could be a term loan, maximum of 5 years, inclusive of to 6 months grace period on principal for permanent working capital or for project preparations like detailed engineering design, feasibility studies. For capital expenditures, we can extend up to 15 years to repay the loan with a 3 years grace period on principal to enable the proponent or the borrower to finish the project first before we charge or before we collect the repayment for the principal component of the loan. And we can also provide standard letter of credit available based on standby LC terms and conditions up to a maximum of 360 days via PN to coincide with the maturity of the line. Next slide, please. The project or our fallback position from our borrowers could be any of these collateral. It could be a real estate mortgage, a chattel mortgage, assignment of deposit with holdout, assignment of receivables. If you are power distributors or power generator, you can assign your receivables or contracts that will form as part of your collateral in obtaining a loan from Land Bank. Or it can be for the LGU, it can be the assignment of internal revenue allotment. You can provide the bank, the joint and several signatures of principal stockholders or officers for corporations, or a guarantee cover. Other securities acceptable to the bank are or other acceptable securities to the bank. And these are additional credit security enhancers that may or may not be required to our borrowers: post-dated checks, pledge of shares. Next slide, please. So these are the pre-processing requirements when you come to the bank to apply for the loan. You have to submit to the bank the certificate of accreditation with DOE, renewable energy service contract, certificate of registration issued by Department of Energy. If it is a biomass or the biomass project, you should provide the bank the biomass feedback supply agreement. supply contract or lease agreement, proof of application of water rights. These are applicable for solar power projects, for hydropower projects, because for solar power projects, you have to have water rights to be used in cleaning, especially if this is a solar farm involving several panels of solar generating panels. For project preparations, we have to have the pre-feasibility study, work plan with milestone and corresponding disbursement schedule, brief write-up on the project and its proponents. Next slide, please. And once your loan is approved with the bank, these normally are the pre-release requirements that the bank will ask you to submit. A certificate of confirmation of commerciality, a work plan or program as approved by Department of Energy, water rights permit, ECC, Environment Compliance Certificate, and CNC, Engineering Procurement and Construction Contract or the EPC contract, and back-to-back warranty of individual components and overall warranty if applicable. Applicable insurance coverage against natural catastrophes, cyber incidents, if you are high-tech power generation projects, industries always pandemic outbreak that may disrupt your construction during pandemic, renewable energy provider contractors, developers performance guarantee. And you should also provide the certificate of geohazard identification survey, if ever applicable, and the submission of power purchase agreement or bilateral contract, and of course the green impact study for RE projects that will be connected to the power grid. Because based on the experience of the bank, we finance a multi-million project, and after completion of the project, it's sad to know na wala palang grid impact study, and the production of energy from this project cannot be connected to the grid. And it took a while before the production of energy finally entered into the grid. Hence, the profitability of the proponent suffered a little delay. Next slide, please. This can be post-release requirements: water rights permit, wastewater discharge permit, confirmation of electromechanical completion, certificate of compliance under feed-in tariff, and renewable energy payment agreement if applicable. So another program that we have in the bank, this is on the consumption side for renewable, for green sustainable energy, is what we call Go Green Inclusive Financing Program. So next slide, please. Next slide, yeah, Go Green. Next slide. So the basic concept of our Go Green program is that the bank wants to endeavor to finance projects that will enable entities, homeowners, SMEs, LGUs to save on electricity by adopting energy efficient solutions like in our country we are in a tropical country, and we should have enough insulation in our facilities or in our buildings in order to not let in the heat coming from the outside to enter the air-conditioned areas within. So we can finance heat insulators for our buildings and facilities. And the eligible borrowers under these Go Green financing programs are LGUs, enterprises, state universities and colleges, private universities, government-owned and controlled corporation. Next slide, please. So these are the eligible projects under the program. So it could be a rooftop solar energy systems for schools, for homes, for factories, or for SMEs production areas. It could be a windmill turbine systems or hybrid energy generator, or even waste-to-energy conversion systems or equipment. As I mentioned before, we can also finance project thermal insulation and heat exchange systems like roof walls, heat insulation, and light reflective coating materials installation, installation of energy efficient air exhaust equipments, solar water heaters, etc. Installation or adoption of energy efficient cooling systems equipment like replacement of your existing old motors for industries to industrial high efficiency motors, or what we term as HEMS. This will allow a savings of up to 30% of your electric consumption, and moving towards the use of inverter type air conditioning systems, especially for industries. So ang laking natitipid pag gumamit ka ng inverter type air conditioning systems. It is up to 70% savings on electricity. And the automation of high energy using equipment like escalators, blowers. So dito sa mga malls natin or some malls that I have visited in Germany, they are using automation. So under lang yung escalator pag may lumapit na tao para umakyat o bumaba from one floor to another floor. Or we can adopt or we can finance, land bank can finance energy efficient lighting, especially using LEDs that will provide a lot of savings in your electric consumption, especially for factories needing bright ambience in their production. And the bank can also finance under the program rain collection or water recycling systems, green buildings, among others. Next slide, please. So the eligible purpose or loan purpose under the program could be the acquisition or construction, installation of equipment, systems, appliances, building materials, structures that will result into efficient and cost-effective use of energy, electricity that will translate into significant reduction in electric bills of the borrower. Not only this, it will also help to cut down our carbon footprint para naman yung climate change ma-address natin. It has a very bad impact to our world, to the globe. The credit facilities under this program can be a term loan. And the financing mix, the good thing about this program is the bank can finance up to 90% of your funding requirement, meaning to say you only have to infuse around 10% of the total project cost or proposed project cost. Next slide, please. So the interest rate will still be based on Bloomberg valuation rate, reference rate, but it should not be lower than 5% per annum. The penalty for past due or accounts turning sours is the same as with the renewable energy program, 3% for cooperative, 24% per annum for other borrowers. Again, the bank charges standard fees applicable to the loan application. Next slide, please. So the loan tenure can be a maximum of 15 years based on cash flow or on the economic useful life of finance project, which is shorter. Pwede kasing when we pursue a project, ang repayment period dito can be shorter than 50 years because based on the savings on the electricity by installing the efficient energy solution, will enable the borrower to pay it in 7 years or 8 years or even 5 years. Depende sa magiging cash flow nyo on the savings by adopting energy efficient solutions. The collateral that the bank will normally ask you can be any or combination of the following: REM, CM, other collateral acceptable to the bank. And it can also be supported by any of the following credit enhancers: assignment of receivables, assignment of claims on insurance guarantee, post-dated check for principal and interest amortization, and of course, JSS of principal stockholders and officers for corporations Next slide, please. So these are the documentary requirements that you have to submit to the bank. Application form, personal information of the borrowers, project details, financial projections, or cost savings projections. Kailangan natin to para ma-determine natin before we pursue a cost-effective energy solution is ma-identify natin kung magkano ba talaga yung masasave natin. And from this computation, we can determine kung ilang years mo babayaran yung loan that you're going to obtain from the land bank, The contract agreement, the monthly cost savings, the valid certificate or permission licenses, financial documents, monetary board opinion if you are a government entity, like if you are an LGU, a government agency, or GOCC, you have to secure the monetary board opinion from the BSP. However, if you are private proponent, then there's no need for this monetary board opinion. Your electric bill statements for the last 3 months para ma-determine natin kung gaano kalaki talaga yung consumption mo on electricity, and after installing this energy efficient solution, gaano pa talaga ang nasisave mo. Next slide, please. These are the other documentary requirements, the collateral documents that you will offer to the bank, and their related documents, applicable insurance, and other documents as may be required by land bank. These other documents as may be required by land bank depends on the complexity of the project that you are proposing. Then we also have a tie-up. Next slide, please. We also tie up with Land Bank PNOCRC under our Go Green program. So itong PNOCRC, we forge a tie-up, a memorandum agreement na kung may mga projects yung PNOC, when it comes to Go Green program, the bank will be very much willing to enter into to finance yung mga proponents that came to PNOC to do a cost energy solution project, efficient solution project. Next slide, please. So the eligible borrowers under this program are normally the LGUs that will enter into service contract agreement with PNOCRC, a renewable company, for their capital expenditures involving energy efficient and cost-saving solutions. And these are the eligible loan purpose: acquisition, construction, installation of equipment, systems, appliances, building material structures that will result into efficient and cost-effective use of energy or electricity that will translate into significant reduction in electric bills of the borrower. Similar ito sa Go Green Lending Program, kaya lang may particular tie-up ng kama sa PNOCRC. So similar to Go, next slide please. So similar to the Go Green program, these are the eligible projects. Next slide, please. So the credit facility can also be a term loan. The borrower's equity infusion will be a minimum of 10%. The rate will not be lower than 5%, similar with the Go Green. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. So, kamukha lang ito nung sa Go Green program, kaya lang particularly may tie-up lang kami sa GOCC at to PNOCRC in funding the requirements of their LGU clients. Next slide, please. So, we are, at the bank, we are proud to say that as of October, we were able to finance projects with a 742 megawatt power generation capacity. And this is equivalent to power consumption of 556,000 or 742 households. Not only this, because of the renewable energy projects that we finance producing 742 megawatts, this means that the land bank is helping the country or the world to cut down on the consumers' carbon footprints using or by generating electric power that they need to power the industries in their homes. Next slide, please. So this is one of the projects that we finance. This is among the 742 megawatt project capacity projects that we finance. This is a windmill project in Bangi. Next slide, please. This is a solar farm. And this is a geothermal farm. Next slide, please. And this is a geothermal power plant that we also finance. Itong geothermal power plant na ito, ang daming use nito, hindi lang for production of electricity. May mga areas dito na ginagawang parang incubators and even for drying fish sa coastal area ito eh. So yung mga eggs na incubate dito, and at the same time yung community, they come into this to this area to have their fish captures dried para ma-preserve sila. So yung excess heat running through their insulation systems, natatap pa rin ito for other industrial and what they call the home uses. Next slide, please. This is one of the mini hydropower projects that we financed also. Next slide, please. This is a biomass project, a cogeneration project that we also financed. This is basically what do you call this? A sugar cane processing plant na may cogeneration capacity. Next slide, please. So, ang magandang balita sa amin sa Land Bank, mas pinadali namin ang mga proseso at requirements sa pag-a-apply ng loan. Next slide, please. So, for your funding requirements, you can visit the nearest land bank field unit to inquire. Normally, these are the land bank lending centers that can be found normally in major cities and municipalities and provinces na mayroong land bank branch. Next slide, please. So please coordinate with us and come to us. You can visit our website, the www.landbank.com, or you can view our Land Bank official pages in Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube. And you can also find information or details about Land Bank products and services under our Twitter account, which is at LBP_official. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I think something wrong with my connection. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for inviting the Land Bank of the Philippines in this very important event. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. David, for an informative discussion and for providing us the details on how can LBP support the local RE projects. Our next presenter holds a master's degree in business administration from Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and a recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award from the UP College of the College Business Administration. He is the president of BDO Capital and Investment Corporation. To tell us more on how could energy investors avail of BDO's financing facility, let us hear from Mr. Eduardo Francisco.
Hi, good morning, everybody. When I was invited for this, I was asked to present on financing facilities for energy projects. So I just wanted to make sure I'm doing the right presentation. This is targeted not for, I guess this is more for, yeah, I guess it's more for investors, but investors meaning developers, rather than investors as in you're buying stock of the energy companies. Anyway, I have a very short presentation, and then we'll just entertain questions during the Q&A because I anticipated anyway a very exhaustive presentation by Land Bank, and Mr. David did justice to the banking industry, and I applaud the detailed presentation on the facilities. Mine is more high level anyway, so if we go to the next slide, please. Okay, I just have 4 slides. So basically, you already got details from Land Bank. No? Basically, BDO naman is a private bank. We work closely with Land Bank, DBP, and all the other banks. We played roles in much of the fundraising for power projects in the country. In fact, later on, when you were here from Aboitiz Power, we were one of their key funders, and we continue to fund them. No? So if you step back, as I guess I'm now talking to the developers and to the owners, what can we do for you? And this is not just naman BDO, but this is what the banks in general can do for you. So this is not a plug just for BDO, but for the banks. First of all, I guess we can help you with your roadmap on your financing options and your capital raising. Because what I realized when I talk to several of you is that sometimes you have this dream, but then we really have to talk about it and talk about the strategy and evaluate the bankability. Because sometimes drawing pa lang and then it's hilaw na hilaw, no? And frankly, from our perspective, we've talked to almost everybody, because generally any big project in the country, we are approached, because we have 1/4, 25% market share of all the loans in the country, and with the biggest SBL, we're the ones with an SBL of almost $2 billion. So for a big project, we can actually fund it singly. But then we'd love to syndicate it and get other banks involved, because I guess there's also support in other banks joining us, even led by the GFI. We work with closely because at least they also understand the nuances. No? But that's really, first thing is also the bankability and the capital raising options, even the roadmap and the strategy before you go out kaagad. That's one. And sometimes, also in some cases, we try to help to find equity. But then, generally, if you're a sponsor and may plano ko pa lang, if it's very early stage, it's not really our cup of tea. And I think that's where Land Bank and DBP will help more, because they're more developmental. From a private bank perspective, we want it medyo more on the hinog stage na, because we want to be there, frankly, not less on the advisory, but more on the execution stage, because frankly, it's very time consuming. No? In fact, that's why you've seen some of the facilities that Land Bank provides. But generally, I want to clarify project finance loans versus corporate finance loans. If the loans, here's the situation, and maybe you've experienced it. If the deal is, let's say, and I think I have a slide later on, but if the deal is, let's say, less than ₱1 billion, it's a project finance loan, meaning you have to study all the analysis, you're really relying on the cash flows, there really is non-recourse to the shareholders. That's a pure project finance loan. Those are types of loans we've done for the Aboitiz Group, for Vina Energy, we've done it for the Lopez Group, we've done it, of course, for AC also, Ayala Group. That's non-recourse. Then you're really talking about the large loans, maybe at least $1 billion, because it's very time consuming. And there's a lot of advisors, there's a lot of money you have to spend on the feasibility studies, the technical studies, lenders, engineers, the bankers, engineers. So it's very time consuming. If it's going to be a smaller loan lang, the dilemma is generally we probably will not want to invest that much time because if the returns are going to be small, it's not worth the time for you and for the banks. And then maybe what happens then, sometimes the banks will look at it as a corporate-like loan. What does that mean? I think Mr. David shared that also. They will ask for JSS, joint surety. They will ask for real estate collateral. They will ask for a pledge. Now, that is not anymore a project finance loan, but it shows you at least the banks were willing to do it. That's more, again, relying on your assets, because if we're not that comfortable yet with the project or the cash flows, parang you're looking na naman at the assets or the security as backup. But if you want pure project finance, where really in reality, the pure project finance, and we do toll roads and everything else, we don't have guarantees from the sponsors. We just have step-in rights. But you cannot foreclose naman on when you foreclose on a toll road or a tollway, right? You cannot naman cut up the land and resell it. In reality, you just have to operate it. And that's the same thing. That's the same way we're looking at energy. Because frankly, the salvage values of energy, especially if it doesn't work, what do you do? Do you wait? Titinggain na lang ba natin and we'll sell it per kilo? Then we'll surely lose our shirt. So I just wanted to clarify that. So we'll do project finance loans for the bigger loans. But then the nice thing about it, I guess my talk now is more on, okay, your whole life cycle. The focus earlier was on, I guess, getting the loans to get your project. But once your project's even on stream, we can refinance your loans. Let's say we can do bonds. In fact, the other day or yesterday, we did Aboitiz Power bonds. This is traded bonds. There's no collateral anymore. It's all clean. They get longer tenor because they have good cash flows already. You can even refinance your loans and remove it from the strict project finance terms and the waterfall accounts. All of that stuff can be removed to make it more corporate-like, because your project is already more mature and the cash flows are very sustainable. So those things we can do. We can even do an IPO or a trade sale. That's how we've helped also some of the other projects. And remember, I think now, especially if you're a Genco, even the utilities, you're being required actually to go public, public or list. And then anybody, I guess, with the BOI also, there was a BOI speaker. If there are BOI incentives, by law, dapat you should also list. So these are things we can do. We can help you do an IPO or a trade sale. What is the difference? In IPOs, you sell to the public, to the PSE, and hopefully make a lot of money. And then you can also cash out or sell part to the public. But at least you get returns out of that. A trade sale naman is, for example, we will sell not to the public, but we will sell it to another developer or another person who's very interested. And we've done that for several other companies. You can be acquired. In fact, an example of part of for the Aboitiz Group, we were part of the syndicate then when we did the IPO for Aboitiz Power. We were also part of the syndicate when we did the IPO for EDC. And we were there also when EDC, we helped finance EDC when they bought it from the government, and it was still PNOC EDC, and it was being privatized. So those are many ways we can work with you. We also work with utility companies, Meralco, Davao Light, of course, which is also part of the Aboitiz Group, and there are other utility companies. We've worked with the other subsidiaries or other, I guess, the downlines in structures in the energy company. And of course, recently, we also did the IPO. We were the lead domestic for the Synergy Grid, which is the NGCP. And we were also part of the syndicate. We were the ones who structured the loans, actually, for the initial owners of NGCP when they bought it from the government. So even buying out power companies, if there's a good deal, we can help you finance that. Also from mergers and acquisitions, or if you want to sell, we can help you with that, or we can also help finance the project. Okay, next slide. Just to share with you some rule of thumb. This is actually my second and last slide. The next after that is already some tombstones and some capital. But again, this is just high level, just to give you an idea what we're looking at. Not product specific, but more in general, because we want to tailor it anyway. But of course, as the banks are going now, of course, no more to coal. But I guess I wanted to make an exception. No? There is a current initiative, I guess, of the ADB for the coal transition. I was also with Mr. Eric Francia, the president of AC Energy. The other day, I was a moderator, he was a speaker, and he was telling me about it. So that's something that the banks have not really appreciated yet, but we will talk to the ADB because we want anyway the transition of coal to happen smoothly also. So there will be no stranded assets because for the coal investors, the original owners. So if it means even lengthening the tenors so that they can get financing, or if there'll be some subsidies from the ADB or IFC, we will always be there to try to study that and help for those of you who are into coal, or help those of you to coal and then you want to transition and shift it into renewable. Of course, renewable projects are something we really love to do. And just to give an idea, I mentioned earlier the 1 billion project finance ideally. And then generally also our debt equity ratio is around 70-30. Tenors are getting longer, can go up to 15 years, generally it's 10 years. But I guess the other key thing also is that we do not like merchant financing. I don't think any bank does merchant financing. While there is that, I guess while you have the spot market, it's very, very volatile. Admittedly, now you could have made a lot of money if you're selling all to spot. But I want to step back. Banks are not there to take the profitability of the GenCo. It is the GenCo who will get the upside from the equity owners of the GenCo. Banks just want to get paid. So banks just want certainty that they will get paid. And because of that, that's why our rule of thumb is that 2/3 generally of your capacity should have offtake contracts. So that means that the 1/3 you can sell it to SM. So if you wanna play around, so that at least hopefully there'll be bigger profits, more volatility. That's up to you. But our rule of thumb is that 2/3 will be able to cover debt service, so that mababayaran lang. So that's the way we look at it. And then generally also, we want strategic investors as opposed to private equity or financial investors. Why is that? Because if you're looking at private equity, sometimes they just have a shorter life. 3 years they have to get out, 5 years they have to get out. Financial investors, they really are not really that embedded in the project. They just get there to make money. Versus if it's really strategic, it's really for them. It's part of their business anyway, so they will ensure that the project is operating. So that's the way we look at it. And then maybe before I go to the next slide, I just wanted to talk about some of our preferences in terms of fuel, or what kind of energy projects do we want to finance. This is from the video group. Of course, wind and solar, we're very, very comfortable. We've done tons of them. Geothermal, we've done tons of them. Maybe I can just talk a little bit also about the feed-in tariff, which somebody from the ERC talked about earlier. It caused a problem in a way because, as you remember, maybe some of you GenCos there or developers there, it became a chicken or an egg. Okay, because you could only get your feed-in tariff once the project was operational and it would pass certain criteria. But then from our perspective naman, why would we lend to you if we don't have the feed-in tariff? Because that's the certainty of the contract. So in some cases, we would require that you would have here are some ways just to go around it. If we find ways, but that's our tagline. One is you have an offtake contract, but just in case you have the feed-in tariff, then the offtake contract falls away. Or in some cases, we ask you for a standby LC, or we ask you to finance the whole project first. Once you have the feed-in tariff, we will refinance it with debt. But of course, that means it needs more funding from your perspective. So those were some of the issues with feed-in tariff. And then from biomass, we also like, but we'd rather lend to somebody where the biomass project is because it's already part of your project. You already the feedstock might be coming from you. So there will be no issues of getting feedstock or pole vaulting from outside because we had an issue with that before. Mr. David talked about waste to ocean. I understand the principle, but I haven't seen it work, or maybe it's just too expensive. But once it's commercially available and it's cheaper, we'd be very interested because I think we haven't seen a project yet up to now. And tagal-tagal na. I've spoken to some of the proponents years back, but I haven't seen anything happen. Waste to energy also. Biomass, we're okay, but I guess yung garbage, seen so many proposals also. I think Quezon City is hopefully doing theirs, but seen some talk to some of the project proponents from Europe because it's being done, but there's just something about our basura where it's just not separated properly, or it's so wet that it does not seem to work well. So I'm not that sure about it. And then same thing also with these landfills that later on create the carbon methane to power energy. We tried that in the past. Also, we had problems with that. So I guess the wind, solar, geothermal, run-of-river are the ones, the easy ones because you're very comfortable. Okay, just recognizing, of course, the availability factors. We'd love to lend more to that because even in other symposiums, we've heard that there really will be a shortfall. I was talking with the Meralco president also regularly, and he foresees problems this coming summer because if all the businesses are open, if the economy reopens, then we will have a shortage in power. And therefore, what does that happen? Do we go back to coal? I don't know, and I really rely on the DOE for that. But I'd rather have power, even if you use coal, rather than a brownout, and then that will destroy that catch-up we need. Other than that, also, of course, when you look at the targets, anyway, there's so much of renewable that has to be developed for us even to reach that capacity, even if they're first to dispatch. So, I guess if you have projects that are really, bankable, of course, we'll dare to finance you because anyway, takes really it's a much shorter time than the 3 to 4 years for coal. In 6 months to a year, you can have your renewable projects in place. So we look forward to more projects of those. So in that, I guess my last few slides are really just more who we are. Next slide, please. And hopefully, I guess my slides will just be shared with everybody. I just wanted to share you what we were doing. In fact, we were the leading project finance house. We've received several awards. We won awards for the Vina Energy projects because we financed them. We've done, I guess we continue to do anyway as there are projects. And then the next slide are other of our energy projects because they're really, I guess, energy and infrastructure is something we really appreciate and we really like. We just go to the next slide, please. So we can show it. Yeah, these are just some of the deals, but again, it's generally the bigger boys are the ones with the large energy projects, no? But we're also trying to help the smaller ones, no? But sometimes the structures change, okay? And then the next slide is, I guess there's the last slide on some of our non-energy projects, okay? And then maybe I'll just go to the next slide, please. Okay. Again, it'll be shared with you anyway, so you'll see. And then the next slide is just my contact details, because I guess our strategy is different from a BDO perspective. Rather than have a product brochure, ours is more we'll customize it depending on what you need and try to understand. No? But it's really complementary to the GFIs, no? Because we just have a bigger balance sheet. So if we really like it, we understand it, we can commit. We don't have to syndicate. And my contact numbers are there. So if you're shy to ask a question during the Q&A, just send me an email or text me, and then I can just set up the necessary meetings so that we can explore how we can work with you. So anyway, just want to summarize. I guess energy is something we really like. Energy financing is something we really understand and we focused on. And because of the energy needs of the country, we're really there. We want to ensure there's adequate energy, there's energy security. We're even open to, if the DOE allows nuclear, we're willing to look at it. Of course, recognizing that there will be concerns from a lot of from civil society, but on the safety. But if that can be mitigated, because we need good alternative energies, and I understand these are now being considered as open as more renewable energy already. So with that, I thank you, and I pass the floor back to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Francisco, for a very explicit discussion. I hope that both discussions inspired our existing and prospective energy developers to avail of your financing facilities for their future projects. Our energy investors have surpassed all the synergies and challenges among the relevant government agencies and private sector entities in the successful implementation of their energy projects. So we have invited presenters to share with us their experiences in investing in the energy sector. Our next presenter is the co-founder and the director for regulatory and markets. Joining the industry during the passage of the EPIRA law, he has been able to experience the changes brought about by the privatization and the regulation law from the inside through his work in the fields of energy marketing, trading, and regulatory affairs for both conventional fuel and renewable energy generation companies. Before devoting himself fully to wind energy development, he previously served as president and board member of the Philippine Hydro Association and served as the generation representative to the Rules Change Committee of the Philippines Electricity Market Corporation, or PEMC. May I call on screen Mr. Tio Sunico from Tri-Conti Elements Corporation.
Good morning, everyone. First off, I would like to thank the Department of Energy for inviting Tri-Conti to participate in this 2021 investment forum. On behalf of our company, I'm honored to be able to share our experience as a local RE developer and why we've chosen to invest in the future of the Philippine renewable energy sector. So, next slide, please. So allow me to briefly introduce our company and provide a little bit of our history. Tri-Conti is a private wind energy greenfield project developer that was founded on the opportunities offered by the Renewable Energy Act of 2008 for small independent developers to participate in building of the RE infrastructure of the Philippines. In 2013, we entered into a joint venture with Stream Invest Holdings, a private Swiss-German firm that aimed to help developing economies like the Philippines build up their clean energy capabilities by partnering and empowering local developers. Through Stream Invest Holdings' Berlin-based subsidiary Corporate Energies, we have been able to access their technical expertise and experience in developing wind projects worldwide, and they have been able to draw upon the team's local knowledge and management expertise. So this has allowed us to grow our portfolio. In just the past 4 years, we have gone from 1 to 9 active wind projects. These include the first 5 offshore wind service contracts awarded in the country. So translating this into potential capacity, Tri-Conti currently has a total of between 3.5 to 4 gigawatts of wind energy under various stages of development in Luzon and the Visayas. Oh, full disclosure, we've been in the industry long enough to have had service contracts signed by at least 4 different DOE secretaries. And yet, due to transmission interconnection issues, lack of energy markets for generated energy, limited financing options, and constantly changing policies and guidelines to secure required permits, we too have encountered challenges in operationalizing our wind projects, though we hope to address that soon. However, beyond project-specific challenges, we too have also been subject to the uncertainties that have faced developers in the recent past and whether or not the renewable energy sector would ever be able to have another opportunity to significantly contribute to the country's future generation mix as it did back in the 2012-2014 heyday. However, despite the dire news, rather than slowing down or even stopping operations altogether, we knew that the energy transition would be coming to the Philippines eventually. So we chose to double down and build our team, our expertise, and our list of projects. And we're fortunate that we had shareholders who shared our perspective and supported our plans to expand despite the less than favorable environment. So allow me to share with you some of these things. Next slide, please. Allow me to share with you some of these things that helped us keep the faith during those times. So number one, I think, and this must be stated, is a professional and supportive engagement that we have with the Department of Energy. Our experience with dealing with the DOE is that they take an active role as a partner in developing projects beyond their role of just refining policies and guidelines to help expedite project development. They go the extra step to the extent of even hand-holding, quote unquote, developers to the government bureaucracy should it be necessary. So examples here are from meetings with other government agencies, tribal community elders, or even barangay councils. They will attend on behalf and with the developers, all to help move the project closer towards implementation. And for this, we'll always be thankful. So the other one that has also allowed us to keep faith is the knowledge, and has been mentioned in the other presentations as well, which is the looming supply demand gap. The Philippine economy and the population continues to grow, and we know it needs electricity to power it. The past 10 years has seen the Philippine economy grow at an average rate of 6% per annum at minimum. And the Philippine population has also increased from 20 million in the year 2000 to the latest numbers of 108 million. And this is it shows no sign of stopping. Unfortunately, capacity building has trailed behind demand growth. Bridging the gap between demand and supply would require significant participation of the private sector to help provide fast and meaningful capacity building to address this. DOE's moratorium on new coal plants and recommitment to achieving the 35% RE generation mix by 2030, it's clear that renewables are expected to step into the gap that will be left by conventional fuel. If this isn't clear enough, DOE's policies and programs for variable renewable energy sources, the Renewable Energy Market, the Green Energy Option Program for retail customers, and anticipated green energy auction, and the Renewable Portfolio Standard implementation, after lengthy cycles of development, consultation, and revision, are also finally being rolled out. Taken as a whole, these provide clear and viable routes to market for the energy output of variable renewable energy systems to help address one of the main requirements needed by projects to achieve financial close. And last, but definitely not least, is the DOE's openness to work with international groups and consultants to fast-track implementation of new technologies to help usher in the planned energy transition from conventional fuel to renewable energy. So examples of this are its willingness to enter into the World Bank study to craft an offshore wind roadmap, which we expect to be out by early next year, as well as also being one of the 2 countries in Southeast Asia to pilot the energy transition mechanism of the ADB. So this willingness to engage and take also the learnings from these technical consultants allows the Philippines to build upon the best practices of those that have gone before, and hopefully will allow faster adoption of these renewable technologies to help fill the supply gap at the soonest possible time. So for the investors coming in now, clearly you have a much more favorable environment should you choose to come in. The next slide. So, though definitely the environment is slowly changing and we see a lot of good things on the horizon, we do believe that there are still some areas that can still be improved. And we have 2 as part of our wish list that we would like to highlight for consideration. So the number 1, a wider and more encompassing implementation of the Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop. So Triconti is a big fan of the Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop system, or EVOS, having secured several of our latest service contracts to the system despite the limitations imposed by the ongoing pandemic. The system has shown promise in increasing transparency and accountability on both sides of the table and providing a virtual way for both the developer and the DOE to engage, especially during these times. However, what we have noted, however, is that a lot of the system improvements and the reduction of timeline is unfortunately limited primarily to the DOE. And you may have heard that out of the 300+ signatures needed to progress a project from pre-development to the development stage, the vast majority of the agencies whose signatures are required still do not fall under the law's coverage. The other aspect, which I understand and know to be one that is very close to the hearts of developers in the Philippines, is the lifting and easing of the foreign ownership restrictions. What's clear, obviously, to achieve the goals of the Philippine Energy Plan's clean energy scenario of achieving 50% generation from RE sources by 2040, or even 35% by 2030, will require technology, experience, and capital that can only be brought by foreign direct investment. For our offshore wind projects, we have talked to most of the top international offshore wind developers who want and are quite interested to look at the Philippine market. However, foreign ownership restrictions are a large obstacle for them to come in. It's not an issue of control because the offshore wind projects are normally done through consortiums, given their size and scope. And none of these offshore wind developers that we've talked to is even looking at 100% of control of operations. And one of the things also that I think is important to note, that they do understand that the Philippine market is fairly new to offshore, but they are willing to work with uncertainties in the market, uncertainties in the infrastructure support for offshore wind, even with uncertainties in regulation and even forex risk. However, they seek flexibility to be able to structure these consortiums in such a way that allows them to be able to pull more players in and de-risk the projects. And this definitely is constrained by the 40% cap. So we see that these are the 2 points that they can be addressed. They will address some of the main significant issues in terms of being able to attract investors strategically, as well as the operational issues of the investors already on the ground on how to be able to expedite their projects, and definitely to promote project development in the RE sector. So just to sum up, our experience of investing in the Philippines energy sector, I'd like to share an analogy made by my co-founder and business partner, Mr. Bjorn Rosenberger. When I asked him, how would you describe the experience of investing in the Philippines? He said that the experience is similar to taking a ride in a jeepney. Next slide, please. So for those of you who may not be familiar, the jeepney is a uniquely Filipino mode of transportation. You can see a picture of it, of several actually, on your screen right now. It's based on the original US Army jeeps brought to the islands during the Second World War. It was adapted into its current form as a public utility vehicle in the years after. Made of stainless steel, and often with glassless windows, most of the jeepneys are individually painted and decorated, rendering each truly unique. The jeepney has a bench seating located along its length, which can fit between 10 to 12 people per side. More common than buses, they ferry passengers along predetermined routes along the urban streets. For every journey, the jeepney sits with its engine running on its designated jeepney terminal. Unlike buses in other countries, it does not run on a time schedule, but rather will wait for the passenger seatings to fill up. Till then, you just have to be patient, wait, and pay attention. Because once the right moment arrives, once all the seats are filled, the driver will rev the engine, merge into the traffic, and speed off, 0 to 60 in a matter of moments. As an RE developer, the past couple of years has been a long wait at the terminal. So to end, my message to you, investor to investor, is sakay na. Because this Jeep is getting ready to roll, and you want to make sure that you have your seat. So thank you very much for listening. Keep safe and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Sumito, for sharing us your experience. Rest assured that all the comments of our energy development are heard, and BOE will continue to innovate steps and programs to help our energy developers. Our next presenter earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Management Engineering, minor in Mechanical Engineering from De La Salle University of Manila, and completed his master's degree in Business Administration in the same university. He holds an executive certificate in directorship from the Singapore Management University, Singapore Institute of Directors, or SMU-SAB, and finished the Advanced Management Program and the lead program at Columbia University and INS-EAB. Now let us all welcome the President and CEO of Aboitiz Power Corporation, Mr. Emmanuel Rubio.
The Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, has radically restructured the Philippines' energy industry. Massive investments from the private sector, alongside support from the national and local governments, allowed for a buildup of capacity that resulted in the sufficient, reliable, and more affordable power we are enjoying today. We are proud that Aboitiz Power was among the first companies to fully support and actively participate in this landmark initiative that sought to improve our country's energy system. We seized the opportunity to increase our power generation capacity through the acquisition of privatized government assets such as the Talomo Run-of-River Hydro, the Tiwi Macban geothermal power plants, the Ambuklao, Binga, and Magat hydroelectric power plants, and the Therma mobile oil-fired power plants. These acquisitions, most of which were renewables, added significant capacity to our Cleanergy portfolio, which we would further expand to serve the Philippines' fast-growing renewable energy market. In 2016, we completed our first solar power project, San Carlos Sun Power or Sakasan in Negros Occidental. In 2017, we finished the restoration of our binary plant to increase the capacity of our Macban facility. In 2018, we inaugurated the Maris Hydro in Isabela, which utilizes irrigation water in our Magat facility to generate additional power. Also in 2018, we launched a new business unit, Aboitiz Power Distributed Energy Incorporated, or APX, to develop and operate distributed energy resources and facilities such as rooftop solar PV installations and other behind-the-meter solutions for medium to large-scale commercial and industrial customers. In 2019, we switched on our first floating solar project located in our Magat facility and started operations of our La Trinidad Hydro in Benguet. Our portfolio under Cleanergy, Aboitiz Power's brand of renewable energy, has since been on a steady growth momentum. We intend to grow it further in the next 10 years while ensuring that our baseload assets remain reliable and efficient. This conscious effort to balance our energy sources, both renewable and thermal, is to make sure that we are able to support our country's energy requirement for economic growth while we are gradually shifting to cleaner energy technologies and pursuing environmental sustainability. Our growth strategy has always been aligned with our country's efforts to balance the reliability, cost efficiency, and sustainability of our energy system. Our government has put in place a robust energy development plan and subsequent policies and programs to constantly improve the Philippine energy sector. With the remarkable increase in energy investments in recent years, we at Aboitiz Power are happy that these are being supported by the Department of Energy's Energy Virtual One-Stop Shop, or EVOS, system, with the goal of streamlining and fast-tracking the permitting process for new power generation, transmission, and distribution projects. We have seen significant improvements in the processing of permits. From an average of 748 days pre-EVOS, we are now seeing an average of 117 days processing through the EVOS system. Initiatives like EVOS encourage more investments by giving energy players the assurance that permits for new projects will be processed in a manner that is favorable to the business and its stakeholders. With this, we are confident with our pipeline of projects over the next decade, which are focused on tripling our Cleanergy capacity to around 4,600 megawatts by 2030. We have earmarked about 190 billion pesos for these projects, and as of October 2021, we have already identified 3,500 megawatts of new RE projects across the country, all in varying stages of development. Some key updates on these ongoing projects. For our 94 megawatts DC solar project in Cayanga, Bugalyon, Pangasinan, the engineering, procurement, and construction tendering process is in final stages, and the target notice to proceed is in the first week of December 2021. The project is expected to be commercially operational by the fourth quarter of 2022. We have also recently completed the commissioning of 2 wind met masts in Pangasinan. Met masts refer to the structure where the measuring equipment is installed. Through these met masts, we are currently gathering resource data such as the temperature, wind speed, and wind direction, among others. And this is to estimate the energy production and understand the suitability of the sites that we have identified. We expect to complete met masts for 3 more sites this year. For SnapMagat's 67 megawatt floating solar project, we are currently securing the pertinent contracts and agreements. Snap is working on the Renewable Energy Service Contract application with DOE. Since the National Irrigation Administration, or NIA, is the government agency in charge of dams and reservoirs, SNAP secured an extension of the Memorandum of Understanding with NIA on the conduct of the feasibility study, with ongoing discussions regarding the agreement for use of the reservoir. The plan is to install up to 150 megawatts of floating solar, depending on the final technical solution and layout. With the upgrading of the transmission line between Magat and Santiago, it is all systems go for the floating solar to undergo project development. The Philippine energy industry has seen significant growth over the past decades. Competition has driven the influx of players. Thus, more capacities have been added to the grid to help address our ever-growing demand for electricity. Based on the 2011 DOE Power Statistics and DOE Philippine Energy Plan 2020 to 2040, capacity almost doubled from 13,380 megawatts in 2001 to 26,300 megawatts in 2020. Competition and capacity addition allowed rates to go down. As more power supply is generated, distribution utilities are able to contract electricity at lower rates. Based on Meralco's generation charge, the average yearly generation charge decreased from 5 pesos 36 centavos per kilowatt hour in 2010 to 4 pesos 40 centavos per kilowatt hour in 2020. Average Western prices also decreased from 6 pesos 43 centavos per kilowatt hour in 2010 to 2 pesos 36 centavos per kilowatt hour in 2020. The same lower prices can be observed in retail competition and open access, or ARCOA, wherein the average yearly RES price decreased from 4.72 in 2017 to 4 pesos per kilowatt hour in 2020. But we believe that there is still a huge opportunity for improvement. With the evolving regulatory landscape, increasing environmental challenges, and DOE's projection of continued electricity demand growth in the coming decades, all energy players, both from the government and private sectors, should work together to ensure that the energy system remains agile and sustainable to serve the changing needs of our consumers. As far as baseload capacity is concerned, we believe in taking a well-calculated and long-term approach towards decarbonization. A decarbonized Philippines requires a well-managed shift. This shift will happen over decades involving all sectors of our society. The Philippines will need all forms of energy to sustain the way of life of Filipinos and fuel the economic progress of the country. For Aboitiz Power, we are responding to the environmental challenges by targeting to reduce our carbon footprint through our renewable energy growth strategy in the next 10 years. Growing clean energy by almost threefold will result in a 50-50 balance between our thermal and renewable energy portfolio by 2030. This strategy is well aligned with the government's efforts to grow the country's renewable energy capacity, outlined in the DOE's latest Philippine Energy Plan. We will support Philippine economic growth with a diversified fleet of assets. Our existing capacities will help power the country during this change while we triple our renewable energy portfolio and develop new complementary solutions to help the country decarbonize more deeply. These solutions may likely include different forms of energy storage solutions, cleaner baseload power generation, and distributed energy resources. We are optimistic that our 10-year growth strategy will contribute to a more reliable, cost-efficient, and sustainable power system for our country. However, due to the size, complexity, and speed requirements of the Philippines' energy challenge, I must admit that we cannot do this alone. It has to be all of us working together, creating synergies and learning from each other to drive a sustainable, balanced, and resilient energy transition. We look forward to collaborating more with the Department of Energy, all allied government agencies, and other energy companies to ensure that challenges in the implementation of energy projects, such as improvements in the permitting process and the timely availability of transmission and distribution network infrastructure, are addressed accordingly. I'd like to thank DOE Secretary Alfonso G. Cusi, Undersecretary Felix William Fontabella, and the organizing team at DOE for this opportunity to speak at the DOE Energy Investment Forum. And on behalf of Aboitiz Power and the Aboitiz Group, I would like to express our appreciation for your continued support, extend our warmest greetings this holiday season, and look forward to more and cleaner energy in the new year. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mr. Rubio, for sharing us your experience and giving us the glimpse of your current and future plans and projects. I hope that both discussions encourage our existing and prospective energy developers to pursue more energy projects. Sabi nga ni Mr. Sunico, sakay na. So, again, right now, I would like to thank all our esteemed presenters. And right now, we will be proceeding with our. But before we proceed now, I would like to welcome again on screen our presenter to respond to the questions from our pitchboard participants. May I request to please turn on your camera until the end of the open forum. Let me introduce again our panelists for the open forum, starting with the Department of Energy, Yusek Wimpy Fontabella, Director Sharon Montagnier of the ERC, Director Dennis Panga of BOI to represent Director Raquel Echade, Mr. Generoso David of the Land Bank of the Philippines, Mr. Tio Sunico of Tri-Conti Almans Corporation, Ms. Lee Balangue of Aboitiz Power Corporation to represent Mr. Emmanuel Rubio. Mr. Eduardo Francisco just informed us na hindi siya makaka-attend sa ating open forum, but he gave his contact number a while ago during his presentation. So before we begin, let us observe certain house rules. So please send your questions in the chat box or type your questions in the comment section if you are watching via Facebook. May we also remind for everyone to please exercise proper decorum, comments, and questions. Kindly indicate the category of the question and state one topic of the speaker on which question is being directed to, and then state one question briefly and clearly. I guess all our panelists are now ready to answer the questions. So let us proceed with the first question. The first question is for DOE. Here is the question. The agriculture projected requirements for 2040 is less than 2%. Can we say that our food security is not sufficient? If yes, is it inevitable that we continue to import our basic food such as rice? Yusek Wimpy?
Yeah, can you repeat your question? Sorry, it was so clear.
The agriculture projected requirements for 2040 is less than 2%. Can we say that our food security is not sufficient? If yes, is it inevitable that we continue to import our basic food such as rice?
Well, what I can say is, as far as food security is concerned, I have not heard any report from the DA or the DTI that we have no security as far as our food requirements are concerned. But nonetheless, the Department of Energy and the energy sector has been closely synergizing its efforts with the agriculture sector through our new productive uses of renewable energy. We have been rolling out pre- and post-harvest facilities that are renewable energy powered. We also have a lot of synergies as far as our fisher folks are concerned, whether it's a requirement on their diesel and petroleum for their vessels, or it's a requirement on their post-harvest facilities that is also using RE systems like yung mga ice plant nila. So that being the case, we have been very supportive with the DA that we were able to come up with, number one, a memorandum of agreement with DA that became a joint memorandum circular. And this joint memorandum circular aims to utilize renewable energy systems that will be rolled out nationwide, not confined to our pilot projects. And this pilot this joint memorandum circular already has the the program called Renewable Energy Program for Agriculture and the Fisheries sector. So we are also looking into coming up with yung traditional needs ng farmers natin, like a 3-phase system for their post-harvest facilities. So naka-align yun doon. So yun po yung ginagawa natin, considering that the Department of Energy considers Sustainable Development Goal 7 as affecting all the other Sustainable Development Goals. And we want to inform our participants about this because we need also to come up with financing and inform everyone that we also had to develop the demand for these systems and isama ito sa menu ng agricultural sector considering na nandito rin yung Land Bank of the Philippines. So yun po yung mga pwede nating tingnan kung paano pa natin matulungan yung agriculture and fisheries sector natin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yusek Wimpy. The next question is directed for ERC. It was from Reza Dadufal Zagoyeneche of Royal Danish Embassy. Will there be a fit for wind power projects?
Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. For now, the 2 rounds of fit for wind is already done. And we are not going to set a new fit rate for wind. There was no installation target already issued by the Department of Energy for the next round. And I think that will be addressed by the Green Energy Auction Program of the DOE.
Thank you, Director Sharon. The next question is from Edmund Edison Esteban from Mariano Marcos State University for ERC. On GEOP, is the demand of 100 kilowatts aggregate demand or per building demand? I'll repeat the question po. On GEOP, is the demand of 100 kilowatts aggregate demand or per building demand?
Okay, sorry, I was muted, but it is on a per account of the end user. So it's not aggregated, mainly because we have not come up with aggregation rules, and even in our COA, aggregation up to now is not yet allowed, but we're already preparing the rules for the aggregation in the ARCOA. But for the GEOP, there is no aggregation yet. It is on a per meter basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question for ERC from Alberto Murillo of Basic Energy Corporation. Why not open up the net metering program to unlimited or export of power?
Okay, as to the unlimited export of power, it is unlimited in as far as you want to export your excess electricity. What is limited is the capacity of the installation, which is 100 kilowatt. And why is it capped at 100 kilowatt? Because in the RE Act, the net metering was defined as a system appropriate for distributed generation. And then distributed generation is further defined in the RE Act as a system which shall not exceed 100 kilowatt. So the system that should be installed is capped at 100 kilowatt. As to the export, there is no limit. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Director Sharon. The next question is for DOE from Gressler sa Hulga of OPMC. Do you have area open for energy projects or projects of open for bidding? May I ask for the project construction cost and period of construction?
What kind of energy project are you referring to? But nonetheless, to answer the question, normally for our renewable energy or conventional energy investments, we allow generally we allow nomination. No? You nominate an area wherein you can construct your energy project. So sometimes you also have or conduct open and competitive bidding or open competitive selection process or OXP for certain areas with energy resource, whether it's conventional or renewable. So magkapareho yung framework, yung rules na ginagamit natin. So dun sa isa, sa nomination, that the developer can nominate, no? So sabihin ko, dito ako magtatayo sa area A. No? Minsan naman, yung Department of Energy magko-call ng bidding o ng invitation for bidders that we are auctioning or we are considering for open and competitive selection process areas B, C, D, and E. So those are the two forms where one investor can participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Pimpi. The next question again is for ERC from Asterio Gallardo of Philippine Ports Authority. As power consumer, is there a possibility of lowering our power consumption using this GEOP scheme?
Not exactly to lower power consumption because the GEOP program just gives you the choice to choose RE as your source of power. But you can enjoy actually the benefits of having several suppliers or retail electricity suppliers. And we've seen that the ARCOA has lowered the rates, the generation rates. And with that, we are seeing, because the GEOP program is akin to ARCOA, the only difference is that the threshold levels and the source of electricity. So whatever we have enjoyed, the benefits that we have enjoyed in ARCOA, we see that also to be enjoyed by the GEOP end users. Kapag dumami na po yung mga suppliers ng GEOP end users, doon na po they will be offering competitive rates to be able to encourage the end users to contract with them, the RE, the rest. So yun po, it might not be lowering consumption, the kilowatt hour, but it may have an impact on the rate once lumaki po tong GEOP. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sharon. Another question from Mr. Asterio Gallardo for Land Bank. Can LBP focus on funding any related agricultural projects to attain food security of the Philippines? Naka-mute po ata kayo as engineer.
Sorry for that. Nakamute pala ako. So we do finance agricultural activities or initiatives to increase agricultural productivity of our farmers. In the field of renewable energy, we also finance projects of the farmers or farmer cooperatives in installing or acquiring mga solar power irrigation projects. So all types of funding for the agri sector, being a government bank and being a green bank, we do finance. Thank you.
Thank you, engineer. We also have another question for you po, engineer, from Antonio Abella of Wise Energy Incorporated. What is the average processing time for a 15-year loan of an RE project?
Okay. We at Land Bank, we have what we call turnaround time upon the application date of a proponent or a borrower with complete documentary requirements. Normally for a big ticket account, meaning to say big tickets, large loan application, or for complex projects, the turnaround time is around 45 days from the date na accept yung documents up to the time na approval for release na yung loan. But for simple projects and low ticket accounts, that 45 days is too long. So normally we can process up to within the range of 15 to 30 days lang. Depende sa complexity and the amount of the loan being applied for. So yun ang turnaround time namin on the average. Thank you.
Thank you, engineer. Let's proceed with another question for ERC from Rosana Galiamaso. We are end user, a newbie in textile industry. We have an actual consumption of 147,600 kilowatts per hour. Can we apply for JAP? Ano po yung simpleng paliwanag dito? You're on mute po, Director Sharon.
Yes, sorry. Just to confirm, this is an end user, okay? So it's asking if it can apply for JAP with the consumption of 147,600 kilowatt hours. Well, I'm not an engineer, so I could not convert this if this is equivalent to 100 kilowatt. But there are eligibility criteria to the JAP, like if you have the consumption of 100 kilowatt for the past 12 months. And if you qualify for that, you would know because there is a notification in your bill by the DU that you are a qualified JOP customer. So once you see that in your bill, the notification, then you are qualified to switch to JOP. So just look at your bill on a monthly basis and you will be advised if you are qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sharon. Another question for the DOE. Regarding existing coal power plants in the country, are there any ruling or future rulings to utilize carbon reduction methods such as using AQCS or air quality control system equipments or carbon capture storage technology to limit the carbon emission on existing coal-fired power plants?
Yes, actually in the Philippine Energy Plan, you have that portion or that section on environmental management and how we can also compute our GHG emissions. So there are also we're also looking into coal plants being converted into biomass plants. We're also considering yung carbon capture where nature-based is involved. Yung latest na in-announce ni Secretary Cusi is the impact of ano din tinatanim sa gilid ng dagat, no? Mangroves, no? So yun yung mga pwedeng tingnan natin. But in reading the Philippine Energy Plan, you have the environmental management section there. that looks into membership of the Department of Energy in the environment management team. That's one. The other one is our involvement in the permitting on the environment. And EVOS also comes in. The third one is we also have to strategize how we are utilizing not only the latest sophisticated technology, but also the nature-based technology that is available. So, balik nga daw tayo sa mga tinuro sa atin ng mga katutubo kung paano tayo mag-manage ng ating natural resources. So these are the things that we have been looking into. Now, the Philippine Energy Plan has a way to grow. No? The first growth that we are looking into is not only on the environmental management, but also on the energy resiliency chapter. That's why I've been juggling, if you see my head turning left and then turning right back here, it's because we have a task force energy resiliency meeting also ongoing. This task force looks into not only yung natural disasters, but also man-made, like bombing of towers in Mindanao. So we have to look into those avenues for growth. And we have to introduce a new chapter. And I'm focusing this direction to the Department of Energy that will be left behind because we have to prepare for the transition. Like 7 months ago for me, Sharon will stay with ERC. But for me, probably 7 months or less. No? So it's the energy finance chapter. That's why if you notice the energy investment forum that we are designing, we have been hearing the opportunities. That's why even Secretary Dominguez is the head of COP26 Philippine delegation. Because it's more of mobilizing the green funds that are available internationally and locally. We also have to look into addressing the gaps wherein energy investors looking into climate change issues and green investments. They encounter problems that they see a promotion from the bank that they are going green, but when the evaluators come in, we experience, the developers experience business as usual type of evaluating their loans. And when we ask, for example, BDO or BPI yata yung kasama sa isang forum, or Union Bank, I forgot, but a private bank, biglang tinuro, government financial institutions ang kausapin nyo for non-business as usual ways of evaluation. So that's why Secretary Dominguez, PSP Governor Jokno, has also been tapped to look into these issues for policy, addressing these gaps through policies. So you have that green force organized by Secretary Dominguez. So in the end, these fora organized by the DOE and the energy stakeholders will really enhance our response, because our mantra is we have to implement now. The debate regarding going green is already concluded. It's no longer a debate issue, it's an implementation issue. So magkakasama po yun. And those are the growth areas in the Philippine Energy Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek. There are a lot more questions coming, but unfortunately we are very short in time. So we will be down to our last question for today's forum. This question is for our energy developers, Triconte and Aboitiz. Question from Abdul Jaman Damahan. I am a small player investor. Where is safe investment in energy? Any tips for a new developer? So let's call first Sir Tio Sunico.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay, there. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a very good question. And I guess for one of the things to consider that renewable energy is very site specific. So as earlier, Yusek Wimpy earlier asked the question, what type of energy are you looking for? So I would say that the safest bet is that you first find the type of energy or renewable energy site, whether that be hydro, whether that be wind or solar. And that would be the best bet before you try to identify what available resources is accessible and developable in the area before you even go into development. Because what you'll see is that there's going to be a lot actually of groups that will be willing to finance you once you actually have a good site with good resources, regardless of what whether what type of that renewable energy asset is. So if you have a good site with good resources, then I think that's the safest bet for you to begin with before you even go further into project development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tio. Yes, Yusek Wimpy, you want to add something po?
Yeah, just a suggestion to the host to make this more free-flowing, no? Allow the speakers to unmute themselves. So, yung DOE has an investment promotion office. So what we suggest is if you have queries, developers, no, you contact us in the IPO. You can call us through email, through chat group or text, and it can begin. We will give you a chart. No? You're like a patient, no? A guidance patient namin. And you will be allowed to sit in the couch and give us all your problems on investments. And we will have the chart being filled up, no? Kung ano yung problems natin. And then if it's financing, we suggest to this group, through Land Bank, etc., to come up also with, or the Green Force, no? I'll have a meeting with the DOF, ASEC, Yusek Joven and ASEC Paula Alvarez, no? Kung sino yung magiging focal person natin for the finance team. If it will be Department of Energy, dito yung nire-refer. Kadalasan po, pag sa ERC, nire-refer ko kay Comresi kasi spokesperson kami pareho. But we have a new spokesperson also. So sometimes, pag renewable, nire-refer namin kay Sharon. So the one-stop shop that can guide you is the Investment Promotion Office. So that's where we can begin our evaluation of the patient as guidance counselor in the energy sector. That's Investment Promotion Office. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Yusek Wimpy. Ma'am Lee Balange po from Aboitiz Power.
Thank you, Patrick. So one thing I would like to add as a tip is that timing is everything. The environment that we have today, it's a really, really good time to be able to invest in renewable energy in the Philippines. We're seeing the demand there. The DOE has helped create that demand, no? Having the GEOP in place, having the green energy auction and RPS in place. And even with a lot of the contestable customers, because of this energy transition, we're seeing more demand on that side as well. So for us, it's all about timing. As Mr. Sunico mentioned, it's about finding the right site. It's also about finding the right offtake agreement, and the environment that's being created, the market that's being created is really ripe for investment in the power sector. Thank you.
Thank you, and that ends our open forum. I would like to say thank you to all our panelists and participants. But before we formally end this open forum, may I request our panelists for a photo opportunity first. One, two, three, smile. Last. Thank you po. Thank you. Again, thank you po for all of our panelists and participants. That was a very fruitful discussion, and I guess still some marami pa pong questions na hindi nasagot na, but unfortunately, we're really short in time. So at this juncture, may we now give again the virtual stage to Yusek Wimpy Fuentabella for the closing remarks.
Thank you very much to all our panelists, our speakers, to the organizers. You did a good job. Advance Merry Christmas to everyone. The Secretary Cusi is leading us in the National Energy Consciousness Month. And we're hoping that the President can also visit us in the Department of Energy so that we can celebrate our milestones together. And the milestone under the Duterte administration is really that consciousness of shifting towards the energy transition, as they call it. The energy transition is simplified by a formula that the Department of Energy, the bureaus have formulated. It's very simple. From our usual practices called business as usual, we add on the following items. And these items are also the candidates for energy financing. So what's the first candidate? What's the first item that we add on to our business as usual? It's EE. It's energy efficiency and conservation, which is the proper term. So it's BAU plus EE. Why? Energy efficiency discusses our behavior, our buying of appliances that are energy efficient as well. So aside from our behavior and the buying of energy appliances, we also design our workplace, our areas where we conduct economic activities to be energy efficient. And so we have that guidelines on the buildings, and we have the jobs to be created. So we have energy managers under energy efficiency. And after disciplining ourselves, our buying pattern and our designing pattern, and arming ourselves with energy managers, we go to the next item. The next item is RE. We have the power to choose. We have the power to produce our own resources through renewable energy. It begins with your house or with your office through net metering, and then you level up. If you're 100 kilowatts and above, you can utilize the green energy option. And when you level up some more, we can look into your quota as a distribution utility, the renewable portfolio standard. And since there are DUs that are quite small or other mandated participants that are quite small, the Department of Energy and the Energy Regulatory Commission has this support mechanism, which is called the Green Energy Auction. So these are the first two items to add on to our business as usual practices. And number three, we use the third item, other energy technologies. Usually, the main candidates here are the energy storage systems, aka battery. No? Yun yung mga pwede natin gamitin to address the intermittence of some of our renewable energy sources. So number four, we also use ICT. We have programs or applications that utilizes ICT so that we can control our use of energy through our gadgets. Number five, since we are a country that is vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, the fifth item that we look into is resiliency. No? So, paano natin papatibayin yung ating infrastructure, yung ating system that has SOPs, standard operating procedures? How do we manage our stockpiling? How do we come up with a quick restoration effort once we are hit by these disasters, whether man-made or natural? And after resiliency, we now focus on the plaguing of our consumers. And the Department of Energy and the stakeholders have three major campaigns that we have launched already. The first one is the basic, ePower Mo, which also has with it eSafety, eSecure, and eDiscarding. Once we have that knowledge, we go to that second level of organizing our consumers aka the demand side. No? And there we have the hashtag, after hashtag ePower Mo, the hashtag, we have the energy ability. So we organize ourselves. Some call it, no, we are moving towards aggregation. Sama-sama tayo, isang subdivision or isang grupo ng mga consumer to reach a level of green energy option. Yun yung mga dinedevelop ng DOE, ng ERC. And the ultimate goal is enerhiyang atin, no? The hashtag enerhiyang atin, which looks into, no, that accountability or that ownership by Filipinos, that we have to support, we have to develop our indigenous sources towards our march on energy independence, no, or self-reliance, no, sa atin. It's not easy, but we already have that roadmap. The roadmap by the bureaus that is encapsulated in less than 200-page document called the Philippine Energy Plan. And the Philippine Energy Plan is being enhanced by including, no, energy finance. And that has been our theme for this Energy Investment Forum. Tama na yung debate na we have to act, go green, etc. No, we already have the Clean Energy Demand Initiative, where corporations in the United States are being asked on their own initiative, no, to consider green. And these corporations have more money now than governments. So anticipate that there will be more demand. No? This SEDI, or the Clean Energy Demand Initiative, was probably copied from the RE100, which came from European companies. And the European Chamber of Commerce has also launched on the REPH 100. Yung korporasyon ng mga Europeans ay bibili din ng RE. So sabi ko nga, RE is not enough. We have to look into efficiency, other energy technologies, ICT, and the resiliency in coming up with our design for clean energy scenario, not only for the country, but also for our homes, for our workplaces. So that is the march that we are looking into. It can be quite difficult. It can be really challenging. But since we are already on track, we have to be on the same page with Ambition 2040 of NEDA, on the same page with the Philippine Energy Plan, which is aligned with Ambition 2040. And we have to also consider, no, aligning ourselves with the agriculture and fisheries sector for food security, aligning ourselves with the education and health sectors for their energy requirements. That is the way forward, and that is the pamana or the legacy that the Duterte administration, Secretary Cusi, and the entire team, sila Ma'am Agnes and the ERC, is really focusing on. So we have to continue to work together. And in the spirit of Christmas, kaya ako nakapula, joke. Anyway, in the spirit of goodwill, of solidarity, and really being one with Mother Nature, we really have to get our acts together. And it starts with not pointing at the others, but we have to point to ourselves. The demand initiative and the changes, we have to begin from us. So the first question is, for all the participants here, do we have net metering facilities? Are we considering net metering facilities? Or our offices, do we consider net metering or green energy option as our way forward? So that being the scenario, that being the situation, we have to tap the financing, whatever is available. And that is the focus now of the national government. So to everyone who has participated in this Energy Investment Forum, again, maraming salamat. And sa enerhiyang ating sama-sama po tayo sa pagsulong. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Yusek Pinky Fuentabella. As we end our program, We would like to remind everyone that the virtual platform is available until Sunday, that's December 5, until 8 a.m. So you can still enjoy the features available in the lobby and access the replays of the discussion in the main lobby. We also invite you to visit and follow IPO's Facebook page. There you can also replay this forum and our previous virtual events. The link will be provided in the chat box. May we also remind everyone to please fill out the evaluation forms after the event or after this program to gain access to the link of the presentation materials. And for those who will be requesting a certificate of appearance, you may send your request through email. You may send it to doe_ipo@yahoo.com. That email address will be posted in the chat box. And there are more activities to come, so please stay tuned to the incoming DOE next events. Again, in behalf of the Department of Energy, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you again on our next events. Advance Merry Christmas to all, and stay safe, everyone.
Pagkatapos madinig ang lahat, kailangan po makilahok tayo sa isang energy media campaign patungo sa diskarteng enerhiyang mura at malinis. Kailangan isapuso natin yung simple rule kung saan meron tayong business as usual o yung pang-araw-araw na galaw natin patungo sa enerhiya. Pero dadagdagan natin ito ng energy efficiency, ng renewable energy, ng iba't ibang energy technology kasama na yung information communication technology at resiliency para mapunta tayo doon sa inaasahan natin na clean energy scenario. Aabangan din natin ang mga gadgets at mga programa kung saan kaya na natin i-control ang ating appliances through our cell phones. Dahil dyan, kailangan maintindihan natin kung ano ang smart home para maging armas natin sa energy efficiency at sa paggamit ng RE and other technologies. At yung mas malaking sistema kung saan nagagamit ang information communication technology ng iba't ibang players sa ating grid ay tinatawag na smart grid. At dahil dyan, mas magiging competitive ang ating bansa. At sa pagbuo ng isang maganda, malinis, at competitive na komunidad, ito yung tinatawag nating smart cities. Kailangan lamang tandaan na ang Sustainable Development Goal number 7 na energy ay sumusuporta sa iba't ibang Sustainable Development Goals na tumutugon sa poverty, sa health programs, sa edukasyon, sa economic growth, sa infrastructure, sa iba't iba pang mga larangin. Kaya tandaan yung simple rule ang susi dito. So ano ang detalye ng kampanya na dapat nating gawin para marami tayo natutulong sa ating pagmarcha patungo sa clean energy scenario? Una, yung kampanyang #ePowerMo, kung saan pinag-uusapan ang safety practices, energy security, kung saan 24/7 ang pagbibigay ng energy services at availability ng energy products, at energy discarding na nagbibigay ng maraming options sa ating mga consumer para mas maging maganda ang suporta at pag-unlad ng enerhiya sa ating ekonomiya. At ang pangalawang hakbang ay kailangan yung #WeHaveTheEnergyAbility, kung saan iniimbitahan natin ang mas maraming mga sektor at grupo at individual maisabuhay ang energy efficiency at ang paggamit ng renewable energy at iba't ibang teknolohiya. Muli, si Paulo at si Regine ay kasama natin sa pag-iinganyo na mas maraming participants dito.
We have the energy ability
for energy efficiency and security.
At yung pangatlo ay yung inaasahan nating #enerhiyang atin, kung saan na-achieve na natin yung energy self-sufficiency. Tandaan lang natin na yung sustainable development ay magagawa kapag marami sa atin ang nagpa-practice ng mga kampanya, ng mga itinuturo dito sa Information Education Campaign. Dahil dyan, magkakaroon tayo ng malinis, mura at matatag na sektor sa enerhiya. Mapapakita natin ang pagmamahal natin sa ating bansa sa pamamagitan ng pakikilahok, pagsama at pagkalat ng kampanya patungo sa clean energy scenario. Ito po yung hashtag #ePower mo, hashtag we have the energy ability, hashtag energy ang atin. Maraming salamat.